Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto thanks button, and there's also a new one, I think it's called Ko-Fi, in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, though, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. And I normally do this in a different order, so I'm going to do it in reverse today. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Dank, David Wayne Foster, Tina Baker, Texas Mike, Life is Short, Skeptic936, Abraham Mohammed, Blue Ridge Ranger, Unbelievable Productions, Maria Nealand, Del West Watson, Reese Pound, Rob W., Mobile Max 777, Hairy Blade, Mel B. Styles, Banter, Patrick Gunnels, John Kays, Michael Kahn, Fiber Oats, Cannabear, More Books, Retro Bill, Goldie McKinnon, Flat Earth Sage, and Endless, Iron 26, M, Unimento, JMels 24, Flat Earth Travolta, Christoph Fournier, Jason Hornsby, Twad Wazzle, The Name's Burley, Rod, Original D-Rose, Mitch Kennedy, Naughty Thumbnails, and Amish Earther. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. On the agenda for today, then. Anything? Did you want to moan about Neil?
Sounded like Pinky in the Brain there, Nathan. I don't know if you get the joke.
Pinky in the Brain? I know Pinky in the Brain. I don't
one
get
of them
the joke,
always
though.
says, "What are we going to do today?" And the brain goes, "We're going to try to rule the world."
Gonna
It's not
take
too far
over
from
the
the truth. I
world.
don't know about the rule bit. The world bit, definitely.
All right.
Oh, we're gonna rule this world, that's for sure. Told you, we're all alone.
Yeah, as long as I'm the ruler of my own world, I'm quite happy, actually, Neil. I don't want to rule the world.
The arena we're in.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we should cover today, to make it a bit more mainstream. Yeah, if one of you from Discord can sort out a video that you'd like to cover, that'd be really helpful. Hey, John.
Hey, what's happening?
I'm just trying to figure out what video we're going to cover today.
I think Droid might have found something. Oh, he might have posted on Skype too, did he?
Am I doing a Q&A on Monday then, Droid?
What? You mean Righteous?
Was it you that was...
Let's not talk about it here. Let's
okay.
not talk about it here.
Oh, fine, okay.
I thought we were going to have another, what's supposed to be introspection, but can kind of turn into an attack Nathan thing. I was hoping to do that.
Oh, if you've got something on your mind that you actually want to achieve, then great. But typically, it's just nice to do that for about half the live show, and then do the other half responding to a video, which, if it's good, might end up going on longer. But typically, ideally, I'd like to just do half an hour. You know what I mean? So we're keeping it fresh each day. So 5 minutes.
Oh, you want to achieve something? No. It was just supposed to be an attack Nathan thing. It ain't got nothing to do with achieving anything.
Oh, I see. I mean, it did kind of turn that into that yesterday, though, did it not?
Yeah, I was teasing about that, yeah.
Okay.
All right, Droid's got something up on both channels.
Yeah, I see. There's a couple of... Hopefully there's going to be a couple of options by the time we go live. That'd be brilliant. Great. Okay. So, what do you want to do, John?
Oh, I was joking because yesterday we were supposed to be like, trying to be introspective and look at the things about ourselves that we didn't necessarily like until we stepped back and looked at them. But it kind of more turned into attack Nathan.
Introspective what? Did you hear that show, that Bev show yesterday? Did you listen to the re-up of that?
Huh?
Pathetic. We stay the way we are. Mean, lean, and mean.
You have to give us a bit more detail, Neil. You've got the beginning part. Did you see that video? Yeah, I did see that video. Or no, I didn't.
Do you hear the things that they're saying? Come on, if you just listen back, because you don't get everything when it's live. No matter what you say, they can't even bring a definition up. This is what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. Okay. That's a bit more detailed. Yes, they struggle to define things in the face of clear definitions because they don't want it to be flat for some reason. I don't really know their MO. I know their MO. I don't really know their motivation.
That's another thing. It's a constant, it's not flat, it's not flat, it's not flat. That sounds very familiar to me.
They just sound like ballers, don't they? But they're flatties because they're describing it flat accurately in most instances. I mean, they don't know much about celestial navigation over on Bevs, but other than that, you know, they're flatties as far as I can ascertain. They know it's not a ball. They brace against space being real. They know it's spinning. So what they got left? It's not flat. Okay. You're like, fine, whatever. That brings them peace, then fine, Neil. What was telling was when Brian took them through the logical steps that you also do, John, in terms of the best possible way to describe it. Now, you will expand on this by saying it's also part of the definition of measurement. So when you're talking about a measurement and it's regarding Earth, it's going to require this flat aspect to be incorporated because it's part of the definition. Now, Brian doesn't necessarily align with you on that, although obviously it doesn't necessarily make any difference to the argument. Flat is a word that is used to describe quite accurately the world we live in. Yeah. Now, if we're going to get really pedantic about it, there might be a quibble that Brian has to have, and he's got a legitimate reason to put it forth, and can and will when it's required at that pedantic moment. And it's, I don't know if pedantic's the right word. Hyper-specific might be a better word. But either way, they don't like that word. Okay, well, it's just a word. And when Brian took him through the logical steps, or Elderbear specifically through the logical steps of how things can be described and what is reasonable to describe them as, he conceded and agreed. But as Neil's moaning about it, he then went on to chant through people while they were trying to make examples of other points, going, it's not flat, not flat. You're like, why? But like I say, if that brings some peace, it is flat.
Right.
Don't have to like it.
Right, but
Hold on. When they're talking about their vertical, what are they referencing it from? What? It can only be horizontal. I don't understand what they're doing.
when they're talking about their vertical, they're talking about the height above the mean average of Earth's flat plane.
Yeah. Correct.
So
And they're
when you
saying
say,
no.
so if you try to say it's not flat when you're talking about topology, you're talking about how not flat it is in relation to how flat overall it is. It's the dumbest, most, I guess you can call it pedantic, but it's useless.
Exactly, it's useless. That's the thing that doesn't serve any purpose. That's why I can only, having not been able to divine their motivation, say if it brings you pain relief, then fine, because I can't see any point to it. It's like, what does it achieve? Not a lot. Maybe it's just, well, we've got a different spin on this, and our spin, I've rationalized it previously, is it allows them to interact with society at a standard that aligns with them, with their ridicule against flat earthers, if they fundamentally deny that they are one and deny that it's even flat. just to bolster that. But then go on to describe the geometric principles of Earth and how they're flat. It seems like a nonsensical position to want to take, but for the fact that society braced against specifically flat earthers. And again, I don't know if I can justify this anymore, but tie that into our rationale for not wanting to be flat earthers or associated with a lot of the flat earthers who are in this corner of the internet, because they're dumb. They make us look bad with their nonsensical conspiratorial garbage that they spew. So I don't necessarily think that's the case with Bev. I don't know, but like I say, it seems pointless. You're right, John.
Yeah, it's a bit irritating.
And then they just start with the ad homs. Even cursed out a few times. The Elder Bear. What's that guy's name? Elder Bill, Elder Bear. What the hell is his name anyway?
I don't know. People have these stupid stock names. I have no idea why people don't go by their name. But fair enough.
Agreed. But he said he was once part of Flat Earth debate. I don't ever remember hearing him on Flat Earth debate. And I've been listening since, 2016?
Well, there's the distinction to be made between someone who is trying to actively take part in the conversation and someone who comes to listen for entertainment. He could have been one of the people coming to listen for entertainment.
Maybe. I don't know. Didn't win any arguments, did they? I didn't recall them actually winning anything. Just lots
Not
of
one.
rumpusing, mainly. Mostly just lots of rumpusing, dragging out the amount of time. Like, other than trying to wear us out, what's the point of that? Slows things down.
Well, it seemed like Bev wanted to remove measurement from reality and keep everything strictly in geometry, where he doesn't have to use a reference. Therefore, there is no measurement.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, as soon as any of the citations tied what we're measuring to Earth itself, like horizontal plane the observer is standing on, they just flat out denied it. And you're like, okay, I mean, that's not going to go over for the audience. Now, maybe you've been trained over at Bev's Muppet server to do that and accept that. But to any rational person, they're not going to swallow it. So, there is still going to be a select few who've been trained by Bev. And for whatever rationale, they've accepted some of his nonsense. And as we found out from Bev, some of them have used it verbatim and then got humiliated for it. And then presumably can't associate that directly with them walking away from him, but I would assume that enough of that kind of stuff going on would be cause to just turn your back on someone like Bev, like most of us already had after one thing that was stupid, because, it's pretty obvious what the cut of someone's jib is after a brief interaction with them, and then you just affirm that as time goes by. Unless they surprise you, sometimes they do.
Well, he had a show yesterday that said, I'm helping Nathan Oakley with a straight line. I didn't even turn it on.
Yeah,
Well, I bet you they wanted to build on the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic and try to say that the closest points between, or the closest distance between 2 points on a sphere is a curved line. You know what I mean? Like on the surface of that sphere. It's just people don't understand the words they're using. That's all this comes
You don't
down.
have no straight line on that surface.
Well, no, that's why I said it's a curved line.
And why don't we go over his video that he did yesterday? Just in the dark, put it on and review it.
I don't think it's worthy. I said already, I want to make mainstream. I don't want one of the anti-flat earthers, or one of our own in that case. I would call Bev one of our own. Just another irritating version of a flat earther that wants to, in this case, deny being a flat earther for whatever reason. Because it's not flat, no it is. What's that? You want to deny all citations that reference the ground as being flat? Okay. That's how it's being functionally operated on. You don't have to like it. I don't care that you don't want to be a flat earther. Is it worth my time? No, we're moaning that we're not in front of the high priests when we did the Madeleine McCann stuff yesterday. Adam's critique is to say that there's a positioning such that the low-level moaning people will get put up against the trolls, so that the actual people who need to be assessed, in this case the McCanns, aren't. They're effectively shielded. Well, us dealing with anti-flat earthers, that shielding working quite nicely. Whereas if we just go straight for the mainstream, okay, no, they probably won't respond. But does it matter? We're actually attacking the mainstream rhetoric that the mainstream viewer would get, as opposed to the interim anti-flat earth that they might get if they're actually looking. Yeah, man, I think we should go to the more popular stuff on YouTube. That's just my attitude. More risky, more likely to get copyright strikes and things, but I don't know, I think it's if those are the opponents that we should be challenging, those are the challenges we should put out by response to their videos. But as I say, hopefully we'll get a couple of choices in the Master B feed. Got one from an anti-flatty already. We might cover that one if nothing else comes up. We shall see.
Well, I do think it's important to deal with challenges, but once they're dealt with, I don't think you should keep dealing with them. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Neil
gets the taste for birds. He said the same yesterday about Jaron. As soon as he came up, he was like, "Oh, we shouldn't be proactively beat." No, I'm not. I don't want to be proactively going after people that aren't worthy of us giving up our proactive efforts to chase after them. Now there are instances.
Let me rephrase. When they come our way, when something stupid comes our way, we hammer it and sweep it aside. That's what I meant.
It's reactively.
Yes.
Yeah, well, reactively.
But I agree with you. Let's go for the big guns.
Yeah, if we're going to proactively put our efforts into it, you're like, well, who's actually punting this en masse downstream? What's the source? Well, just go to that. Right? Who's your current version of Einstein? Who's giving us dark energy? We could look it up on the show. Change our tactic. Everyone's told me how lazy I am, so if I can snap you guys into doing some research live on air, it's almost like I'm doing it.
I love that. If everybody does a little, I don't have to do anything.
Absolutely
I love
correct.
that.
Most people know the actual saying, though. So if they know that if everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot. And they sort of hear you start that off with, if everybody does a little, look them really earnestly in the eye, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, my kids take the opposite approach. If they can get dad to do everything, they don't have to do nothing. But yeah, back to the dealing with challenges when they come. Like, because one of our biggest gripes is that the heliocentric priests won't address our, they're not even claims anymore, our issues that we have with them. They ignore us. You know what I mean? So if we didn't address them when they came, it would be almost like we were doing the same as those priests. You know what I mean?
Okay, pick a priest, and instead of doing a reaction video, I'll ask somebody to get me a photo, and all we'll do is we'll put our points to that person and put their name in the title. In other words, it's not a response to something they've said. It's still technically reactive, even though we're proactively seeking out a video and challenging it. It's still, strictly speaking, reactive, right? We're reacting to what they've done initially. Whereas if we just say, right, X heliocentric priest, Earth is measured flat. Here is how Earth is measured flat. If they happen to be propping up the orbital motion lie, then we go, orbital motion comes from a flat plane. Here's how. So we put together on the fly, because I reckon that's how, generally speaking, because that's how we've always operated. No one's putting together presentations on the show. Occasionally, 10th Man like to in the pre-show. but it normally just divulge what he'd researched the last few weeks, right? It is still strictly a presentation, but that's not what I'm looking for now. I'm just looking for us to pour out our understandings of our subject with a specific person being addressed. How does that sound?
Sounds like fun to me.
Okay. What do you want to do?
Let Discord pick.
Well,
Who's the top dog?
Well, that's what we're ascertaining, Neil. So as Adam's here, I'll fill him in on what's going on, and then we'll get his opinion. So rather than hello, you got a second? You're not going to disappear immediately.
Yeah, I'm all yours. All yours.
Okay, so the plan is to pick a heliocentric priest, and rather than doing a video on them reacting reactively to their initial points that they make in whatever video we're covering, we just get, if we even need to do this, in other words, if no one does it for me, it probably won't happen, we'll get a photo of them and just stick that up, and I'll put them in the show title on the live show, and rather than it being a reactive video to their claims of nonsense heliocentrism, we'll start proactively putting our claims on the front foot to them. So for the sake of argument, it was Sabine Hosselenfelder. I'm not suggesting we should do her because we've done her loads recently, but I'd put her name in the title and it would just be a picture of her, and we go, right, here's our position. Earth is measured flat. If she's a proponent of orbital motion, which she is, tell her how orbital motion proves Earth's flat. And that would be it. So it'd probably take a lot less time than responding to a video. Might get that wrapped up in 10 minutes. Nice enough to chunk out. And then it's titled, Sabine Hosselenfelder has been informed Earth is measured flat. Or Sabine Hosselenfelder's orbits prove Earth is flat. Or something like that. You know where I'm going? But it means that we're proactively doing something. People have praised me for what is actually quite a basic idea. We're flat earthers, let's start saying it's flat. Isn't that complex? But there's now a level of expectation on me keeping that moving forward. Fine, I can do that, that's all right. But that's
I think this is a brilliant idea, Nathan.
Good, because I've given this a lot of thought. Oh, well, I say a lot of thought. Up until literally 1st of January, I was thinking all the way up to it and discussing some of those thoughts with you guys as we got sort of prepared. And it was always phrased as moving into 2024, we should be doing X, Y, and Z. And you can do that forever. Now we're in 24, what we should be doing is, and it normally turns into what we'll end up telling others they should be doing. And it's far better to let's start doing stuff, let's be proactive. I'm going to say we're going to be better served doing it. Let's just show how better served we're doing it. And by, pure numbers, I can see them going up slowly as my revenue goes down. But that's crass. Let's not discuss that. But in any event, the overall objective, I think, is being well served already. And we're only a week or two into it. So, start as we mean to go on, move forward on the front foot, and then we'll stay there. I'm going to press a few buttons.
I agree. I'd just, if that was me, I would make sure I wouldn't be doing it off the cuff. The nice thing about the review video is you're reviewing instantly, so it kind of just falls out your mouth as a reaction. I was going to be proposing something to somebody like Sabine, whoever. You know me, I'd probably have a couple of slides. It would be a bit like hers. She spends time making her videos. If you're going to address somebody, I'd construct the letter, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do want to do it on the fly. Why? Because I want to show off you. Not you specifically, Adam, but you know what I mean. That is to say that if we run out of stuff to talk about, that's indicative of us not having enough talking points to drive the conversation forward. Now, if that is the case, without a day or two to stick something on paper so you've got a vague idea of the framework that you want to move forward with to attack your opponent, what they'll be positioning, you don't get that, do you, on the fly when you're just out and about doing this? And normally, your average Joe that's watching this is only confronted with a position where they have to defend that when they're put in a position where they don't want to lie to somebody, but they've ultimately been asked or the conversations arose. And then they kind of want to see how that's dealt with. Well, it's in a way, it's a good thing we haven't actually come up with somebody specific to this point, because when we do, it'll be 5 minutes from now, we'll be starting the live show. I'll do a couple of housekeeping questions. My intention is to just launch into it and see how it goes. We don't have to know the last particular point that person made. You know what I mean? We're just practicing moving forward on the front foot. And if it's just to a photograph, half the time we're doing our reaction videos, we've got them on pause and we're just making our points anyway. So why not make it purely 100% original and proactive? And off the top of my head, the best way to do that is stick a photo up, put them in the title, and just see how we get on. If we do poorly, we've got to do loads of research. Well, why don't we? Why haven't we got enough talking points to just? What does it matter that there's a photo up? You know what I mean? The fact that we're naming somebody as we're making our points, does it matter? Surely we can do that.
Not going to do that. That wouldn't be running out of things to say. We have that problem here, really. It would just me being an organised presentation to somebody for their rebuttal, but let's give it a go. See what.
We can only see where we're lacking if we have a bash off the cuff. That's what I mean. Right, I'm going to press these buttons now, otherwise we will be like, keep chatting.
Yeah, well, if you kind of addressed it like issues that Sabine Hassenfelder cannot address, right? Like a challenge almost. And then we bring up, like, instead of making it housekeeping questions, state why those housekeeping questions we go over can't be answered.
Is that front foot, though?
Yeah, I think it could be, as long as you put it in the context of you're measuring it flat and the reason we ask these questions, you know? So how you been, Adam, since yesterday?
Yeah, good. Not yesterday, wasn't it? I don't know. I'm just trying to think. I think if you're saying it like that, yeah. If you're reiterating that everything they're doing is flat, measured flat.
Right, who are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
Just pick a name. Pick a heliocentric priest.
Well, you'd have to, if you're going to start with one, you might as well start with the biggest one out there, and that's Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I knew you were going to say that. I didn't want to say it, and I didn't want to do it either. I want him to be one when we've done I'll be honest, when we do the Tyson one, I want to have ironed out a few creases. So it's got to be someone, I don't want to do bloody McToon or someone like that, but Sabine Hostel and Felder level. Now, if you were going to go for a slightly higher echelon, someone, I'd say someone like Michio Kaku. But like you say, you don't go for the top brass straight away. We've got to massage our way into this, right? I want to do Tyson a bit later, although he is absolutely the most obvious choice. I know I'm being really fussy.
What's the British guy's name that...
Perfect, we'll do Cox. Someone get me a picture of
Cox.
Brian Cox. That's perfect starting point. Absolutely ideal. And he's British. Good. At least I'm attacking one of my own. That's what I meant by that.
Oh, I like the idea because the firing the lasers at the moon required you to level that laser to get a return angle.
Oh, we're already on to a good start. Right, can somebody, it doesn't matter who, get me a picture of Cox just so I can stick it up on screen from the Skype? That'd be brilliant. Marvellous. Oh, great. I'm already pleased because I know a fair bit about Cox. I grew up watching Cox and listening to Cox. And since doing Flat Earth, I've had a lot of Cox exposure. Man, is that going to get trimmed out?
If nothing else, we can make a whole video of just making fun of his last name.
Nah. Low blows.
Hello.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good to have you. Good to have you. Please share the show. I've done a call to action already, but we're going to be having a little bit of a different format today. Now, this has only been literally discussed in the pre-show, as we often mention what's been discussed in the pre-show. That's what we're going to do first, which is to say that we, with the new and exciting moving forward into 2024 attitude that Flat Earth Debate is hopefully instilling in some of the audience members as they accumulate in our live stream chat, is to say we want to move forward on the front foot as opposed to on the back foot, reactively, responsively, whatever you want to call it, which is to say, when doing our typical shows, or in the last couple of years, say, we will bring up a video and react to whatever is being put forth proactively on whoever's channel by whoever it is. Now, to get us in the mood for doing this, I have suggested that rather than doing it in response to a video, we literally pick up whatever heliocentric priest we happen to want to discuss on that particular day. In this case, we're going to be doing Brian Cox, and we just go through some of our points that we would feel that would be best served addressed by someone of such stature as Brian Cox, and invite them to respond to some of our points, poignant that they are. So we're going to do a bit of housekeeping first, so we'll get onto that in a little bit, but we will do our usual couple of housekeeping questions. So, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
You would have to measure it somehow, wouldn't you?
The false dichotomy that we get told we are supposed to fight for is an idea of getting an actual height of the sun by way of an angle that can only be taken from a flat plane for both parties. So it's another one of those, you tell me how your flat earth works to get an angle to the sun to give us a height at a couple of thousand miles, and I'll tell you how I use an angle in certain circumstances to match with my globe when I use a flat earth angle to match with my globe. So yours doesn't work because it's definitely not 2,000 miles high or whatever it is that flat earthers are strawmanned with. But it does work when I use a flat earth angle to infer that at this particular point in this particular day, at this particular time, the angle does match with a heliocentric model that says it's going to be 93 million miles away when I derive a mathematical derivation of an R value that was also measured off a flat plane. So with a couple of flat earth measurements, I can tell you that my version of this false dichotomy on the globe side did win, where yours, because you said you've got a height of the star, which you can't, off a flat plane, failed. Ergo, your flat plane versus my flat plane, but my flat plane's going to win because it's a globe.
Right. The calculations fail for both, though.
Yes, they both fail. Yeah, that's true. We don't have a height. We're not trying to get a height when we use our flat earth proof of celestial navigation and measuring a flat earth with that tool that's known as a sextant to give you elevation angles, not heights. They're very different things.
Yeah. So the measurement for both requires a flat plane, but the calculation will not give you the height of the sun or the distance from the flat plane to the sun.
But if you know the globe model well enough, you can correlate an angle that is only capable of being derived from or measured from a flat plane, because it's an angle, and then correlate that with a 93 million mile sun. Again, when you've got the extrapolation of an R value derived from a minimum elevation angle measurement to Polaris, or an Alberuni dip measurement from a flat plane when getting a height off a flat plane for a height up a mountain when you use a flat plane for your eye level versus a flat plane that is the surface level that you got the height off in the first place. A lot of flat planes get used when you claim a globe. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
As long as they're not claiming things fall down, I don't see how they can even try to describe a natural phenomenon.
I mean, they can show things that do fall down or force things to fall down when taken out of equilibrium. But in so doing, they are automatically inferring that all things with mass go down in line with a 109-year out-of-date mass-attracting mass Newtonian in name-only rhetoric called gravity. superseded by Einstein with a non-force force that you can think of as a force, but it's actually a pseudo-geometry with a fourth dimensional space-time bending. So again, lots of convolution to mitigate for the fact that if you're standing on a spinning water ball flying through a sky vacuum in violation of the second law of thermodynamics, you have to mitigate for the fact that you're not flying off it with a force that's not a force that you can think of as a force in a 4D space-time, pseudo in nature, named by Einstein.
Well, down's only in relation to a horizontal plane of reference. So, yeah, they can't be claiming that things fall down. That requires a flat Earth to assert. So they would have to say that things fall in.
That's a good point. We'll get to that with Cox. A perfect segue. In terms of their descriptions that require horizontal planes of reference, one of them, for gravity, would require them to always have a plane of reference. Now, maybe they're kicking the can down the road when they describe the universe as flat, but regardless, a flat plane of reference must be utilised for them to even to get close to describing in for the force of gravity when bending a well in space-time in 4D geometry, offering a non-force force that you can think of as a force, but ultimately just gives them enough leverage to slide the scale by 1 from 0. So when you're not doing anything, 0, right? No, 1g. When you're falling, 0. Why? Space-time, very complicated. So, Cox, we're going to put forth some of our positioning, some of which has already come in the form of the housekeeping question answers, but there we go. Maybe we'll reiterate them and direct you them specifically so that you have them to start with, which is to say, your orbital motions and mechanics have started life with measurements off a flat plane. The angle measurements to the stars that are inferred to be orbital by motion have been taken in a Keplerian idea, got to be careful with my words, but with measurements taken off a flat Earth. Ergo, all of your heliocentric claim to be on a sphere rhetoric is reification. And the measurements to give you said reification were flat Earth measurements. Right, there's our starting point. Not a bad start, Nathan. Thank you very much, Nathan. You're great. I'm not schizophrenic, but over to you, John.
Are we addressing Cox now?
Absolutely. He's on screen. Hopefully I've spelt his name right and not put in Brain Cox or something, because I did it while the intro was rolling. But he's in the title. He's on screen. We're going to be addressing our points specifically to him for the first half of this show. If we don't get too carried away, we'll see how it goes. So I've started the ball off by saying your orbital motions need a flat Earth. What you got to address to Cox in terms of his general heliocentric, you're standing on a sphere in a sky vacuum rhetoric?
Well, I'd like to address the retroreflectors he claims are on the light in the sky we call the moon.
Perfect.
He said we fired a laser from the surface of Earth at the moon and got a return signal that gave us the distance. The problem with that is the laser had to be leveled and angled at the moon. The level would give you the horizontal plane of reference to get you the angle, but the level that you're using for the laser runs parallel to surface level, which means that your angle is taken from a flat Earth. Firing retroreflector, whatever claim you just made, required Earth to be flat to make it. I'm sorry, Brian, you're wrong.
Well, is that wrong? He's just using flat Earth measurements to infer the reification that Earth is a sphere, and he's wrong when he says Earth is actually spherical and infers that Earth being spherical would be cause to claim that the moon return signal is based on an orbital heliocentric motion, because he's got not return angles. He's got, how do you phrase it? First time I've heard this. He's leveling the laser that's being fired to the alleged to be left from a sky vacuum journey, which we're going to get onto next, retroreflectors, and they're having to level the laser to get the 1 or 2 photons they claim to get back as a return.
Yes, and then they're measuring that incident angle of the photon. They're not, they're not seeing a tiny little dot come out from the laser and go to the moon and back. They're
Sure.
just measuring the incident angle of the light's return.
And that incident angle requires a horizontal plane of reference. Ergo, at some point, to start this process, you needed to start with a flat Earth.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's move on to the retroreflectors. Did one of you, Adam or Neil, want to talk about sky vacuum? Just so it's not me doing or John doing all of it thus far.
I got a separate point.
Yeah, feel free.
Okay. So I'll plug Cox's current UK tour. He's currently back in the UK with a special cinema tour pimping his worldview. It's called Horizons. So, Mr. Cox, given that your tour is called Horizons, I would just like to demonstrate to you that the horizon is nothing more than an optical point of dissolution. That's a fact. It's only if we think we live on a ball that we try to invoke this point as the leading edge of a sphere. And I'd like to cite to you a little argument as flat earthers use. It's called the black swan argument. It uses a modus tollens form of logic to evaluate. So I'll just refresh you with it. If P, then Q. Not Q, therefore not P. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, Q. The Earth is not a sphere, as we will demonstrate to you. If possible, actually, if I could just quickly share screen, I'd like to show you the black swan picture, Brian.
So while Adam's doing that,
And there we go.
perfect timing.
Okay, so there it is. What we have here is two oil rigs. They're of no real interest other than denotation of distance. We have an observer height of 1 foot. Therefore, if we follow the modus tollens, we should have physical Earth curve obstruction, or the horizon as you call it, at 1.22 miles. We can see we have no obstruction at both 6.2 and 9.4 mile markers. Four of them are most fundamentally behind them. We can see the horizon. What I'll summarize to say is not Q. The horizon distance is greater than 9.4 miles, therefore not P. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere. And as I say to you, Brian, most fundamentally demonstrating the horizon is not Earth curve. I'm done.
Perfect. So just to reiterate Adam's point, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the distance to horizon measurement in the black swan image shown by Adam a moment earlier is way beyond the physical geometric limitations of an Earth curve edge horizon. As that is the name of your tour, I think it's quite pertinent that you should answer Adam's question first, perhaps, given that you're a sphere believer, and we have debunked the sphere based on its lack of capable measurement of its physical geometry, as laid down in what we have fondly dubbed the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculator, where it alleges that the marked with an X labelled horizon position is a point of obstruction, with hidden values to claim that there is a limitation, aka hill, getting in your way called Earth curve at the horizon. This is not the case, as Adam has so eloquently gone through. Further to this, Neil, you're a big fan of the sky vacuum, right, Neil? Did you want to put something to Brian Cox? Or are you driving? If not, I'm going to do it. Hey, space is fake. Right, so Neil's obviously...
Sorry, driving.
No, that's all right. So, as a follow-up to refracted curvature, his appropriate name is based on Adam's argument, just so you know. His name's John. But he pointed out the retroreflectors' angle of incident, which would require a flat plane in the first instance, to affirm your orbital motions with derivations of R values, also used in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator when measuring a flat plane to give you said R value. To then infer that you have orbital motion, to take a trip with, maybe we've got some telemetry for the moon, or maybe they've lost it, but using flat plane measurements off a flat Earth to give you said orbital trajectory information to travel through a sky vacuum to the moon to drop off these retroreflectors. This is not the case. All astronauts are liars, because to travel into an area of volume known as a vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr, would mean that all the gas that we are currently breathing would have never developed gas pressure, because each and every single particle of gas that left the ground would dissipate in line with entropic law into the available volume. Therefore, we would never have had gas pressure to breathe, because we have no containment, and we, according to the heliocentric nonsense model, have a sky vacuum with no containment, violating the second law of thermodynamics. Ergo, space is fake, and all claims that come from a sky vacuum, including trips to the moon and Mars and other lights in the sky, are automatically bunk. A massive lie, which you prop up when you boldly tell your audience, because you've been told to by your producer, that it affirms we have been to the moon when you fired those lasers at the retroreflectors, which are not there, because you cannot travel through a sky vacuum to drop retroreflectors on without killing every occupant of Earth, in a paradox where they already have gas pressure not dispersing into a vacuum in line with entropic law. Space is fake. We haven't been to the moon. Anybody else got anything they want to address to Brian Cox?
Yeah. Well, I also, didn't they claim that you can supposedly bounce radio signals off the stratosphere, some kind of sphere part of the Earth's gases that they claim, right? But if there's something effect like that, they're bouncing something off it.
We're talking specifically and directly to Brian Cox. And you're coming up with some random globe argument that they might perpetuate as Cox put this forward?
I was going to get to it. It's just that if there's supposedly something bouncing off, giving a signal, rebounds, how is that supposed to work with the moon that's out of that stratosphere, right? It's further away, supposedly. But you can get a signal rebounds from within the atmosphere, though. How did you go through it and then get it back from the moon? Sounds like they just pulled a little switch through and just called the stratosphere the moon all of a sudden. Sorry, that was it.
Okay.
I have a supplementary point to Adam's question.
Okay.
Given that the Earth curve calculator that gives you the geometric horizon is dependent upon eye level running parallel to sea or surface level to make the calculations of a geometric horizon, I would like to point out to you, sir, that your belief that the horizon is a physical obstruction comes from measurements from a flat Earth.
Okay, so we'll get into Al Baruni. I'm going to do a bit of a call to action now I'm thinking about it. I want to direct this at Cox. Now, obviously, I'm going to have a nice trimmable section that I can trim up and put his name on again. It's already in the live stream. But typically what we'd do is we'd direct people to go to their video by me clicking on share and asking the audience to go and leave them a comment. I think in this instance, given that he's going to be on a bit of a PR high because he's doing a tour, I think it's appropriate that we should be asking or inviting our audience to let him know via Twitter. What do you think? Can somebody, one of my mods, if you're listening, hopefully you're all perky and paying attention, can somebody dig out Cox, at what Brian Ever Cox Twitter handle is, X account, and pop it in the live stream chat so I can do a little call to action and ask people to just inform him that at Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube has, what can we call it? It's not responded, is it? It's proactively poke the bear, but I don't want to put that. How can I phrase it?
Trying to contact you for information.
Let's put some
It's
points
in,
toward.
it's in Twitter. It's at Prof Brian Cox, and I've put the full webpage link for people.
Perfect. So Adam's just posted the Twitter handle for Brian Cox, right? And that's going by in the live stream right now. So if you're currently, shout out to Steampunk Punk for joining. Yeah, if you're in the live stream chat now, because obviously we are actually live. Hello, by the way, all to the live stream. How many people got? 90, just under. Cool, great to get to 100. But it'd be nice to actually let, as we tick over 90 viewers, Brian Cox actually be aware. In other words, I want to proactively poke him. Now, we used to call this poking the bear, but we used to do it with our anti-flat Earth counterparts in the, is it the Hegelian dialectic? Is that the one? Whatever, the controlled opposition narrative functionality of having two sides that are both pretty much under control and not fighting the ultimate overlords, which we are now poking in the form of Brian Cox. But how's he going to know unless we let him know, right? So that is something I am reliant on you, the audience, to do. But just let him know we have put some points to him or something along those lines. You know, I'll leave it in your careful hands when you get to him. Or just sent me at Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube. Sent me. That's good enough, isn't it? Sent me. Why did he send me? It leaves the in this case Brian Cox, the person receiving the message, at least with a little bit of intrigue. Why did they send you? Well, you'll have to find out on YouTube, won't you? But yeah, I think we should be proactively putting these points to people like Cox. So when someone comes to a video like this, newbie on the front foot, like we are, telling them how Earth's measured flat, we're proactively poking Cox to tell him your globe nonsense uses flat Earth measurements. This is a very effective tool. I'm feeling very smug right about now. Let's get over 100 viewers. Please share the show. Yeah, Cox needs telling. You're telling people we're on a globe, but your measurements come from a flat plane. You're telling people we can travel to the moon and we've got retroreflectors, but your sky vacuum violates a law of nature. Now, previously, when we put these things to people like Rumpus, we get responses like, the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth. What, that law of nature derived from observing things on Earth? Yeah, it does. Just doesn't apply to your globe. Well, I don't want to hear Rumpus tell me that. I want to hear Cox tell me that. Why have you got a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum wrapped around a model that you say we stand on when measuring a flat plane? It makes no sense. Why aren't you telling people we are on a flat plane if that's what we're measuring? Seems crazy that you're getting paid to go on a tour to tell people we're standing on a ball with pseudo-geometry when the pseudo-geometry and indeed the Einsteinian mass attracting mass for a ball requires a horizontal plane of reference also. This seems crazy. Everything you reference that tells people the lie that we're on a ball when we're not references a flat plane for its measurements. He needs telling. So tell him. Let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube sent me to point out we're on a flat plane. We'll get your comment probably removed. I think we're done. I think that's it. This is a pretty good warm-up. For those of you who might be privy to the pre-show, if you happen to be watching this after the fact and you've just watched the pre-show, we were initially off the cuff going to do Tyson. I said, no, we're going to do this a couple of times before we get to Tyson. You know, I'm not saying that Brian Cox is lower, a lower high priest. He's just a high priest, right? They're all pretty much of a muchness. But when you think of the high priest of high priest, it is actually Tyson, you know. And he's got a special place in my heart because he's such a good magician. Unlike Cox, you know, Cox isn't. If you ever go and listen to, and we've covered it several times, so we're not going to do it today, his travelling to do that exact thing, which is fire lasers at the moon. He's got his producer in the car on the way down, and he doesn't even know why they're going. And the producer's got to lay it out for him and say, the reason we're going here is to affirm that we've been to the moon, because of course they've been to the moon. If we've got lasers firing it, right, Cox? Right, Cox? You understand what we're doing here? He's like, of course we've been to the moon. Look, Cox, we're here to propagandise people. I'm the producer. Just tell them we've been to the moon because we're firing lasers at it. How dumb are you? Doesn't seem like Tyson needs such ushering, does he? Anyway, any more words on Brian Cox before we potentially move on?
Just one. And I'll probably get shot for not mentioning it because Brian's not here. So on behalf of Brian's logic, I'm sure he would like to ask you the question, do things weigh more or less in a vacuum? And if you did come back to us, that'd be a fantastic thing. to have a
Hell no,
discussion
I'm not going to allow
and
that.
have a demonstration with.
Excuse me, I speak on behalf of all of Irish, the Irish, I should say. When I say no, he would be far more bullshit and upfront and affirmative in terms of his statement that he made to him, as opposed to the question that he asked of him. Brian wouldn't be asking Cox no questions. He'd be telling him, let's make that clear. He's Irish.
Right. So, things weigh less in a vacuum, Dr. Cox.
That destroys your paradigm.
Well, no, that would be his claim, but that, Dr. Cox, that would be your claim. Things weigh more in a vacuum, and we would like to point out to you that this does destroy your paradigm. If you invoke that fundamentally gas has weight, this was the case, then things would not weigh more in a vacuum, which is exactly what they do. Given that paradigm destruction, are you able to justify gas having weight, or more fundamentally, claiming that gas go down, go boom, boom?
Yeah, what we're doing is preemptively attacking your mitigation for the sky vacuum, not allowing all of the gas which is at pressure, even though it's not pressing anything, from vacating into the area of volume known as outer space, where you think your rockets go to land on the moon and drop retroreflectors. Well, given that gas does fill space, it's a law of nature, you, Cox, will have to mitigate for this, where your compadres have up until now told us things like the second law of thermodynamics, a law of nature, a description of how things always occur in nature, doesn't apply to the Earth, meaning it doesn't apply to a globe Earth because the gas would fill the space. So the mitigation is to say, oh, we're in a bent 4D pseudo-Riemannian Einsteinian well, because we bend space and time, which isn't a dimension. It's completely pseudoscience nonsense geometry that doesn't apply to the real world. We don't live in a fourth dimension. Nevertheless, given that you can convolute this subject with Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian for space-time bending, you can then move the scale by one, from 0, where we're sitting down doing nothing, reasonably described as 0, and call that 1g. Therefore, when falling, you're at 0g, in line with your illusions of orbits also measured off a flat plane in the first instance. So, given that you can describe how things will move to the Earth because of orbital motions and said gravity when moving the scale, you would assert that gas does the same. Go down, go boom boom, go splash splash, like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank. A la PhD Thunderfoot. Now, when describing how gas go down, go boom boom because it has weight and is not dispersing in line with entropic law into a sky vacuum, it would therefore leave the conclusion that it is producing more weight on an object when being weighed in a vacuum. However, that is not the case. Who's going to give the Irish? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to point out that he's not allowed to claim weight. That is a movement in a vertical vector with respect to a horizontal plane of reference parallel with the surface level. So he's going to have to find another convention to hijack.
Even if he did try and utilize that convention, Brian's cut it off at the knees because of how things behave when weighed in a vacuum. Do you want to reiterate the actual conclusion in an Irish accent, please, Adam? Because then this rounds out this point and we can move on.
Yeah. If gas had weight, then it would afford a displacement upon the scale, whilst also affording a buoyancy of the object on the scale. The buoyancy and then downward force of the gas, the buoyancy would have to be less. So if you remove the buoyancy and you remove the medium, then the net result would have to mean, or does mean in this, would mean it would weigh less in a ball earth paradigm where gas go down, or actually has weight, where weight is m times g in your claim. This doesn't happen. Things actually weigh more in a vacuum, demonstrating that gas doesn't have weight.
Right.
If it doesn't have weight, then it can't be held to a spinning space pair. This is the point of raising this point. It's your mitigation for space, when you oppose the second law of thermodynamics. We have, by demonstration, evidence that rebuts gas has weight.
However, this is an address to a preemptive address to a mitigation that in no way overcomes gas behavior by definition and by explanation within entropic law. That is to say, gas expands to fill space. In all instances, for all gases, always. That is what they do. Gas fills space. Oh, what do you know? You think the sky is space? Outer space? A sky vacuum? Absolutely not. We'd all be dead. The gas would fill the space. Ergo, everybody you prop up that say they've been there are liars. And you are complicit in their lies now that we have informed you proactively. And I encourage my audience to do just that. Please let Brian Cox know at Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube sent me to let you know you measure Earth flat. That comment won't last long. Put something else. Sent me. Just sent me. Okay. Right. We've also got a video that Divergent Droid supplied. We've got lots of pictures of Cox now. Check it out after the fact. Got loads of them. I just needed one about 10 minutes ago, and now we've got a bunch. Did we want to do the Hall of Fame for Cox? I'm thinking no. I'm thinking a couple of pictures is fine for you, Cox. You know who you are.
Let's do the first one. Master B is now full of Cox.
It is full of Cox. Okay.
Check. Good morning.
Good morning, Chocolate. How's it going?
That weren't too bad, Nathan.
I thought that went really well. I thought that was much better. I thought it would be a right mess and us fumbling and figuring out what we were going to say next and stuff. But instead, that was quite good, I thought, for a first go.
Well, that's what it was. It just might have sounded more professional than it felt.
I think I'll be editing out a few ums and ahs when I do chonk out that little bit. So, yeah. Okay, so, as always...
Just couldn't control yourselves with Brian's name, right? Just had to be teenagers.
I was all good till the end. And then an obvious pun came.
But we don't re-highlight the puns by discussing them, ever. This is... You know the rules, right? You all know the rules. Pun comes, it might get a snicker, but it's not reiterated or highlighted because then it ruins the joke value of the pun.
It was made to be ruined. It was disgusting and vulgar.
So I would suggest you keep highlighting that disgusting vulgar pun over and over again, making it more highlighted to the audience, completely defeating your own purpose in highlighting it, Neil.
Shout out to Tim, King of Puns.
Okay.
Have we already finished?
Who would never make a pun like that?
Oh, God, this is going to never end. I'm glad we didn't
Have we
have this
already
happen in the
finished with
Cox bit.
Brian?
I suggest total dead air or all everybody speak at once. Let's go with the second. Everybody go.
Woohoo!
Are we
Free for
finished
all.
with
We can
Brian?
just do whatever we want now.
I had to step away for a minute. Are we already finished with Brian? Because I had one more point to make to him.
Oh, okay. Well, then I could throttle everybody who just did that. Mostly Neil. Go ahead.
I would like to go ahead and point out to him that measurement is what defines what exists in the physical and natural world. And given that all measurements are either taken with respect to a flat plane or from a flat plane, how do you sleep at night?
That was a much better ending. Well worthy of adding on to the end. And yes, to reiterate Adam's point, I think that was a much better ending than we had already, don't you? How do you sleep at night knowing that all of the measurements are either from a flat plane or with respect to a flat plane when you assert Earth's a sphere? It's disgusting.
You know why? How? He de-reams.
He de-reams. Shout out to Unitox Femu. He says, we are following Sun for 4.5 billion years with 448,000 miles per hour speed with the atmosphere through a vacuum, and still there is no edge of the universe. Thanks, Sasha. Really appreciate the super chat. Okay. Are we all tuckered out now? Shall I move on to the video or not? Yes, Nathan, we really want you to move the show along a little bit quicker in future. I agree. Right.
Whoever that was a good idea.
Right. I'm going to plow through regardless of whoever says what next. Okay. So this videographer is called Creaky something. So I'm going to stick his link in. Let's see what he's called. It just says Creaky. Okay. This guy's called Creaky.
Oh, no. You're not seen this guy? It's that Welsh plum, isn't he?
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Vaguely familiar. In any event, his link's going by. Share the YouTube love as always. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me and responded to your video. I don't actually know what we're going to be responding to. I've not watched this, so I don't know what it's going to be. Might be good, might be bad. We will find out shortly. This only came out. Oh, now it's like 19 hours old. Presumably that's why Divergent Droid stuck it in the chat, because it's brand spanking new. And yeah, we're going to respond to it. So hopefully, without any further delay, we will see. I'll speak slowly, waiting for an interruption to see who's going to stop me starting the video off on the good foot that you normally start on. No? Let's go.
Flat. I know, hold your applause. We've been onto this round earth idea for a few millennia now. Every experiment and
Well, two things to cover already, man. I couldn't even get to the pause button before it became a second point. Millennia, you say? We've known for millennia. No, it's been a few hundred years. Prior to that, we were travelling out to find new worlds in outer space beyond the horizon on a flat plane. How it's all mapped, how it's all charted. So no, definitely not. Secondly, all of the experiments, like cause and effect reasoning by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing naturally occurring phenomena, you have no such beast for a globe Earth. It's a category error. It's a concrete noun for a start. What's happening for you to cause an effect? Who is this guy? He's dumb as hell. How long's that? 11 seconds. 2 idiot statements within the first 11 seconds of his video. Wow. It's got to be a record.
I do mean every experiment.
Every experiment for a concrete noun will prove that what cause and effect for what? Are you idiotic? You think you can cause and effect a concrete noun? This guy is so stupid, he's going to reiterate his stupidity.
Those carried out by your flat earth friends ends up.
So nobody's carrying out experiments for flat earth either. So now he's juxtaposing his stupidity onto a flat earth by stereotype. My God, this is too much to keep up. We've only been into it for 17 seconds. I'm still almost getting interrupted immediately by my own panel. It's not like they can't hear my enthusiasm level going through the roof. It definitely requires Neil to interrupt. Go ahead.
It wasn't Neil, it was me, damn it. And this guy is horrendous. This is like one of the worst trolls.
Thank you. That's such
there.
wonderful colour commentary while I'm pointing out that he's actually defying the definition of science. I really need a colour commentary on how bloody useless he is when I'm commenting on what he actually says, Arwin. Thank you. You carry on.
You're welcome.
No colour commentary. I'm sick of dealing with the comments about it, Arwin. People bitching about you. I'm just going to be blunt from now on. People hate your colour commentary.
Up being an accidental tribute to the globe. And then there's CC, the star of today's Point and Laugh project. He's like,
Right, so you're poisoning the well fallacy that you're going to be dealing with a clown shoes before you've even put him on screen. So this guy has done nothing but riddle his video with fallacies. We're only 25 seconds in. Oh, yeah, we should really apologise to Brian for the terrible Irish accents we just did. He's just arrived.
Mine wasn't terrible. It was quite good.
I did Northern Ireland again. It's the only one in my arsenal. It's all I got.
I can guarantee you they were all bad. I didn't hear them, but I just know.
Get it
Love
from
less of your prejudice then.
Jimmy Carr, who's also Irish. What is it? Peace and civility. To get you into the old Northern Irish vibe. He's got a whole bunch of phrases to give you different accents from around the UK. You never seen that sketch? Jimmy Carr, check him out.
Ireland is not the UK.
I was saying that I was doing a Northern Ireland accent though, wasn't I? So strictly speaking, I was correct. Actually, is Northern Ireland?
No, you were not.
No, I'm still wrong. No, you are right. Northern Ireland isn't included in it's Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which is UK and Northern. No, I am wrong. You're bloody pedantic Irishman. You are right. Don't want any troubles. Let's
Always
move on.
use the term British Isles.
Yeah,
That
British
winds
Isles.
them up.
Yeah,
British
that's,
Isles.
yeah, no, that because I can't argue with, because that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, British Isles. Then we can all cuddle up and wear jumpers together, right? Anyway, this guy's Welsh. We've got a perfect amount of disdain for the Welsh too.
Like the one band that only knows one song but keeps playing along.
Oh, this poison in the well fallacy is going on a little bit longer than I expected.
We've heard it, CC.
I see. We need a comparison with your poison in the well fallacy. Wonderful, wonderful. Excellent use of fallacy.
Now, some of you say, Creaky, you're obsessed with Chris. And to that I say, maybe.
I didn't know who Chris was or you were until this point, but now I think, based on the fact that you're telling your audience that you are obsessed with Chris, I don't even know who he is yet. Anybody else picking up on that vibe? If I start my video, people say I'm obsessed with Sharon. Who's Sharon? Why are you bringing her up? Obviously, I appreciate he's probably going to be covering him in this video. Go ahead.
Did he not say Chris as in C-R-E-S-S as opposed to Chris?
I think that's a Welsh thing, though.
Be, but can you blame me? It's like reality TV without the budget.
In the Jimmy Carr sketch, he says, if you want to try and be Welsh, he says it's not necessarily about a phrase. It's one of the only ones he doesn't do with a phrase. He says you've just got to say what you would say normally, but just sound stupid. And then he gives a couple of examples. Whose coat is this jacket? Whose shoes are these trainers? There you go. That's Jimmy Carr's way of getting you into the Welsh accent. Just sound a little bit stupid.
You keep sending me these CC classics asking for my take.
See? Whose shoes are these trainers?
What am I meant to do? Ignore him? That's like ignoring a kitten playing piano on the...
Can I help? Yes. Brian.
Yes. At the start of this video, the reason I came in straight after was, he said, we have known for millennia, millennia, right? To know is to measure. So that's a complete another rubbish. They've said this for 9 years. To know is measurement. To believe is calculation.
Yeah, do you remember when we covered that historian? And Adam, I think, was vaguely familiar with him and was outraged at the standard change. Because suddenly he's inferring that we've known since the Greeks, but then we've got people opposing the new introduction of heliocentrism, even though we've apparently, according to his own timeline, known for a long time that it is spherical, but yet the spherical new idea that isn't new because we've already known is being opposed by people who already know it's spherical but oppose the new spherical idea. It's like, no, your history makes no sense.
Yeah, how can you know without measuring?
Exactly.
Honest question.
Sorry,
how can you... No, you're right. It's okay, Chocolate.
Yeah, Chocolate. How rude. Did you not hear the Irishman?
Owen has left your show.
How can you know without measurement? How can you actually know? Honestly.
It's because it's clear that if I was swallowing a big gulp of cherry Coke, it's because I've just told him off. I'm in a bad mood. I've had very little sleep. And I'm constantly I've told Arwin this, he knows. I've expressed my annoyance at constant barrages of people moaning about him. Neil, listen up. Whipping boy number 2, you're here now, aren't you? Get plenty of emails about you, plenty of messages about you too. So now Arwin's gone.
That's good. Keep them coming.
He was keeping you out the firing line, so I don't know why you've highlighted his dropping from the call after getting told off. Who do you think's next?
I guess everyone's attacking Arwin. I mean, other than a bit of Baldwin that's out of line now and again, Arwin is a totally epic part of the show. Arwin is a genius. I don't know what the problem is with Arwin.
The problem with Arwin is he's having a hard time of it, and it's affecting him, and that is affecting how he behaves online in a negative way, and that means that he's being less and less likable. And as a friend, I want to resolve that. Now, I've tried to appeal to him in terms of, you've got this. I wanted to do this yesterday on the introspection show. You know, not just specifically for Arwin, but I wanted him to take part, and he didn't even take part. Maybe that's partially why I'm a bit annoyed at him. You know, because all of us are bearing our innermost, telling an audience, you know, how we've reflected on ourselves in terms of our bad behaviour. Arwin stayed silent the whole show. You know, I'm not saying he's better or worse than any of us, or he's less or more culpable for moaning at. We all do bad things, but there's base level stuff, little gripes and irritations. In other words, with Arwin and Neil, as he's not here, right? The things that I gripe at Arwin or have just told him off for, let's be honest, and I'm sure you'll all agree as an audience, easy to rectify if you're Arwin. This isn't something that's going to take like loads of effort for him to change, is it? Yeah? But I have to deal with people moaning about it all the time. So it's one of those, it's going to pour out, and trying to do it in a subtle way where he's enjoying the virtues of self-reflection. Well, he didn't get to enjoy any of those virtues yesterday, which is a pity. Maybe I'm just, like I say, maybe I'm just annoyed at that fact because I want him as a friend, because he is, Arwin's my mate, to join in on those things. I'm sure he'll rejoin. When Arwin gets told off, he'd rather not yell and destroy the show more, and he's got the respect to actually go away and go bastard off air. So good for you, Arwin. Thank you for dropping rather than raging at me. As I've just raged at you, that would typically be the response from Arwin, wouldn't it? So maybe he's turning over new leaf already. We'll see. Anyway, that's that address.
The thing about it is that, are you sure that the people who are emailing you are genuine, or are they just people who are pretending to be flat earthers or listeners to the show, who are just emailing you, telling you Arwin is no good, just to break up the situation?
Both.
Because anyone who's trying to derail the investigation needs to be investigated.
Both. And other avenues where people who I know closely will pass on messages. So I get contacted by all sorts. It's just not exclusively Arwin, right? This now sounds to the audience like I only get a barrage of emails about Arwin. That's like the only subject matter in my inbox. It isn't. Far from it. One of many, many, many literally millions of emails that I've got. I'm just saying, it's one of those things that I do have to field on. It is a basically daily basis. I almost lied and said almost daily basis when I know damn well it isn't. Well, that is something that's adding to my workload. And, as much as Arwin's just carefree about these things, who cares? I could be how I like. Well, yeah, you can until it generates me more work. And I've got to appeal to people who, far from being strangers who want to muddy the waters and cause ripples in the water, as you're inferring, no, some of these people I know really well, like they're also friends. I don't know what you want me to say there, Brian. As much as Arwin is ace. Just one last point. In the same way as I've appealed to, I think it was Christians I used as the example yesterday. I'm like, these people care and are showing their love by contacting me to say that they don't like something, because it'd be far easier to just walk away. Well, this is the same exact thing. Don't take this as a violin moment where Nathan's expressing his love for Arwin. But in the same contrast, that's exactly what I'm doing by expressing concern. Now, when I see distress in Arwin in what he's doing on his shows, I want to express that concern for a friend. Now, that's going to be done privately. It's not going to be done on air. But what I can do on air is say, you're causing me more workload. And it's along the same lines, coincidentally, which is probably why I've got annoyed quickly with him. Anyway, we've laboured this far too long now. Anything else?
No, just what are the main problems they have?
Who's they? Contextualise your segue, please.
These people in general, because I should have a problem with Arwin because I'm literally on the panel dealing with him. So I'm the person who should have a problem. I should be the one articulating the problem, saying Arwin is doing X, Y, or Z. So what is it they're saying Arwin is doing? Because Arwin has been Arwin for the past... Arwin was on the show before me, so... how long has Arwin been Arwin on the show? We wouldn't have relative density equilibrium with him if it wasn't for Arwin. It was a major part of that.
Nobody's saying we want to get rid of Arwin. I'm trying to contrast that by saying, watched a Jordan Peterson video once, right, where he was explaining how to behave with your own kids. Now, saying that with other people's kids, when they do things that annoy you, you're not going to say anything. They're not your kids. You've not got to deal with them and live with them. And his attitude is, if your kids do something that annoy you, you should discipline them so they don't do that anymore, because there's a good chance it will annoy everybody. But you do that out of love for the kid. That is to say, you want them to do better in the world, therefore telling them where they're going to irritate the hell out of everybody is an expression of your love for the kid, even though in their mind they might cry because you're telling them off. Well, this is the same. I'm not, like I say, that's why I preface it by saying I'm not devoting my love to Arwin with violins in the background. But that is the essence of what I'm doing when I express my annoyance for something that is, by another standard that's not on this exact subject also detrimental to Arwen. Now, your point, I also agree with. Just keep you on track, Brian. Right? He's being pushed to this by bullies and trolls. And when he, like, you would, let's keep it off Arwen, because he's not here to defend himself if it gets to that point, which it isn't yet. You were saying that Bev and the guy, Elder Bear, came in because they wanted sound bites, right? In other words, they want to poke the bear enough to get me to say something I'll regret by winding me up. Well, all of us have had to endure that for many, many, many years. And there are various periods, they come in flows, ebbs and flows, throughout your YouTube career in this example, right? That you'll be on a high or on a low. And normally when you're on a bit of a low for whatever reason, be it emotionally or financially or in terms of your friendship or your relationships, wherever it may be, people who hate you pick up on it and try and exploit it. And sometimes they get the better of you, and they do get the, as I'm going to compare it to Arwen in this example, something like Rage Win, where he's yelling down the camera about something he's passionate about whilst being poked by some idiot in the chat or whatever. And, you know, we have to look out for our own when these things happen. We have to identify when these things happen. Because otherwise, someone like Arwen, I can't help but use him in this example. I'm just going to have to keep doing it. I'm sorry, Arwen. You just happen to have become this example now. It's just the way it is. You know, if it just makes it sound like I'm implying this is going to happen to him, and I'm not. But someone like that, if we don't address these things and don't identify them, they do go over the edge eventually. People burn out. And if you're not conscientious enough to recognize these things and point them out to the person involved, they don't get the benefit of that in the same way the child doesn't get a benefit when they're doing something irritating. They just don't know it. So in this case, I'm just expressing the annoyance of the audience. And in this instance, it did genuinely annoy me. And Brian's like, well, yeah, but Arwen's still ace. Nobody's denying that. Arwen's always going to be ace. He's my mate. He wouldn't be my mate if he wasn't ace. He is.
Well, I didn't mention Bev at all at any point.
No, I did. I did. I brought him up as an example because he's trying to. You were saying they tried to poke me.
About Bev, and I never said it. But
I did. Just to make the example again, because I did. You're now saying, well, I didn't say. Yeah, I did. I brought him up because in the same way, right, the trolls are poking Arwen to get a reaction out of him. And at a low point, when he's struggling financially, he and I compare notes on how broke we are, right? So they're using that. In this case, it's financial as opposed to emotional. But they're having a little poke over it. Even yesterday's show had someone saying, what was it? Oliver Win. You're like, pricks. So what is poor? Maybe give him a donation rather than poking him and calling him Oliver Win, you prick. But that's not what people do. But we around him can do that and offer support and say, it's at least offer a bit of sympathy if you haven't got any cash to give him. But anyway.
There was a troll.
I'm trying to make the point for Brian. So when it comes to me bringing Bev into the example, it's because Bev has come to do that to me, to poke me, to get a few sound bites. Why? Well, because I'm being told there's a perception that I'm in a lull, but for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's because everybody's decided to attack me while I'm deciding to be proactive and forefront and confident. Oh, I can't have that. It's like crabs in a barrel, right? Anybody know the crabs in a barrel example?
Derail the investigation.
Yes.
Crabs in a bucket means that all the crabs will jab and yank and pull the other crabs as they try and climb out the bucket. So you don't have to worry about putting a lid on it. They'll all keep themselves in the bucket, stopping everyone else from getting out. Well, Bev is doing that when he comes here. All right, you want to move forward on a positive foot. How did he, Elder Bear, phrase it? Your sales pitch. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a sales pitch. That's right. Yeah. We measure Earth flat.
I was just going to say, it gets to the point where they know he's impoverished and they freaking PayPal him 1 cent. Now that's a smack in the face.
I laugh. I thank them. They get the same thank you from me as anybody else. I go back to them and thank them. Thank you very much for your support.
Yeah, but it was made to just drive him crazy. And
people are poking him. And we want to be his friends. But by the same token, if we don't address the bad things he's doing, they'll get worse.
Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not denying that Arwen's behaviour and some of the things he says are not worthy of trigger, of a triggering. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that what is the overall theme that you're getting from people? Because I'm hearing a lot of people are complaining about Arwen. Okay, what are their complaints? And I'm not hearing their complaints. I'm just hearing people are supposedly complaining. give me a theme. What are they? What is the main complaint? Or the top 3 complaints, if you understand what I mean.
Derailing the conversation, colour commentary, and general interruptions. There you go. There's the top 3.
But he's always done that.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to change our attitude so that we move forward with a positive attitude. So when I approached Arwin with this originally, my approach was to say, if we're going to move forward on the front foot, asserting, as is the case, that Earth is measured flat, then we can't have Baldwin's making an example for the audience that just shows how a baller behaves and essentially derails the conversation, so that we have to flex our muscles to show how we can put Baldwin back in check to get the conversation back on the front foot. I don't want to do that.
I would say there's a lot of people out there who have a hidden agenda with Arwin, who are using anything Arwin does on the show now, which is the same thing as he always did, that's the same thing that always annoyed us, is suddenly a big deal. I wouldn't trust people who are pushing that too hard. Because to me, it sounds like, well, he's no different now than he was 4 years ago, so how come there wasn't all this big problem 4 years ago? It sounds to me like people have other issues with him and they're not coming forth with them. At least come forth with your problems, as opposed to making things up that complaining about stuff that he did 10 minutes ago that he was doing 4 years ago. Well, where were those complaints 4 years ago?
Okay, let me just quick shout out. Sorry to do a shout out in the middle of your bit. Kevlar says, you made Arwin go live. Come by OTL for a chat. Or OTL means, what does that mean? Online later or something? What's OTL?
On the level, it's Bevs, over the Bevs.
Oh, right, okay. Fine. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. No, Brian, your sentiment is idealistic.
What would we be going to OTL for a chat? What's the point?
Anyway, your sentiment,
boy.
Your sentiment is idealistic. I just said earlier, people only approach you to express the negative things. It's like complaints to a corporate, a gold, because they actually get to find out what they've done wrong. Because generally, people just vote with their feet. Oh, I don't like the way I was treated by that store clerk. I'm never going back to Tesco. So they just don't go back. That's not very helpful. The guy who really likes that Tesco store will go to the manager. That woman was really rude to me on the counter. Why? Because he wants to come back to the store. Now, that, when you boil it down that way, sounds like it's selfish motivations. Maybe you could point it like that. But generally, when you know there's no advantage. The reason I gave the example of the Christians was because when they approached me, there was nothing that they had to tell me about what I was doing wrong more than anything. There were pepperings of Arwin in that discussion, I'll be honest. And I'm not going to name and shame anybody specific. But there was nothing of advantage to them in what they were telling me. In other words, if you do this, I will benefit X. There wasn't any of it. So, there wasn't a single example I could give you and go, because of me changing my behaviour or addressing an issue on the show, it would benefit this person because they'd get to, and I'll give you an example they did give me, share it. So the advantage for me altering my behaviour in this example will also benefit me. That was the example I was given. So you think, well, how can this person be motivated to, I don't know, drive a wedge between me and Arwin, if that's the example that we're going to... Sorry, Arwin, you're just going to be used all this show. It's just the way it is. Well, no.
The motivation is that Arwin says things that they may not like. Now, it doesn't matter if Arwin is right or wrong. The point is that these people, I don't care what they profess themselves to be, they will do things that is immoral just to remove a problem from their lives. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. I'm not sorry about it. That's a turn of phrase. I'm not sorry. They will do that. I just find it very weird that Arwin is getting so much hard time now. Like, where was all this hard time 4 years ago? Arwin is exactly the same now as he was 4 years ago. What he has to say has not changed. So how come there's such a blowback now?
I don't know.
I just find it a bit strange.
When people ask questions like that, I have a tendency to take ownership on it. Maybe it's self-indulgent, but in any event, maybe it's because we're trying to take a different vibe moving into 2024, a more proactive, positive vibe. And therefore, that's going to bring things that might have been bubbling below the surface for several years to the surface because they're not conducive with that attitude. Now, I can say that's a reflection of my audience. I don't have any examples. I can only speak from the heart.
Well, I'm exactly the same as I was back in 2015. My attitude didn't change. I never changed my attitude. My knowledge on things increased, but my attitude never changed. And it won't.
Present, yeah, but that's the difference. To say we haven't changed, to say we don't regulate ourselves in here, isn't true. Some of us refuse to. Today was a good example. We're in the middle of trying a new thing with Coxie, and Owen just wades in with something completely irrelevant that wasn't on topic, on point in how we were trying to do things. And then the second point, when it was just ad hom, the Welsh guy, that's when Nathan's lost it. I can understand why, Nathan. That's frustrating.
Yeah, that was a perfect example, actually. I've got to be honest. There you go, Brian.
No, that's why I just put it in context.
That would be something that would be in line with the criticism from people in the public. So I can't name the person that almost made exactly that comment, Adam, but there was one specific person who messaged me with a different example that was in line with what happened today, right? So in this case, we've got a very hyper-specific thing that we're trying to achieve. Cox is on screen. We're talking about Cox. We're making examples and directing him to Cox. And then an example comes in that is vague, wishy-washy, directed at they. I'm trying to tie him down to it. He says he's going to get it back on track. He didn't. And it's just a section in the middle of it that sticks out like a sore thumb as being not on the track that we're trying to take. Well, like I say, these are things that when I say addressing that or putting that to Arwin isn't exactly a big deal for him to think before he opens his mouth, am I actually on topic here? Or am I just inserting a bit of heliocentric knowledge that I've got that seems on topic, but it actually shattered the point? Well, those are direct criticisms from people who watch the show, not because they're wanting to drive a wedge or anything like that. They're just like, I want the information to be more concise. And that's a perfect example, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but I have to say something to you now you're not going to like. And it was bothering me since yesterday. You did the same thing yesterday. When the word aliens came up in that guy's video, you went straight into talking about where the whole term of aliens and all the rest of it came from, when it was not necessary.
Okay.
So it's exactly the same thing, Nathan. I'm sorry. We all do that too. We all do it.
No, there's a big difference, Brian.
I'll take that. Well, let's just acknowledge it first, Adam, then go ahead, right? I'll take that on the chin because I did see it as a pretty loose segue, Brian. A segue that was almost justified, and I labelled it too long, it wasn't necessary, and it wasn't conducive with the point that was trying to be paralleled by that video. I will agree with you, but my justification, mitigation, whatever you want to call it, is to say that in my mind, I'm looking for every opportunity to put these flat earth arguments in. That's why I did it. So there's a greater good excuse rather than just me flexing my knowledge. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. Sorry, Adam, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not having a go at Arwin for being Arwin. I'm never going to expect Arwin to change, but today was very frustrating. Lots of people have chatted. Working live, trying to achieve a particular aim, which is to make sure you're making positive statements whilst on the fly addressing. And literally, as we went live, it was Brian Cox. But you heard my response, and to put that effort in, to then just have something about bouncing stuff off the ionosphere to the moon, and that. You just go. I didn't express it on air, but inside I went, it's just disappointing. Yeah, it's supposed to be in the same game. Now, Nathan makes the point. If you are doing your own show and you turn up, just maybe gather the room a little bit before interjecting with absolutely something that's had nothing to do with anything, because you hadn't just taken the time just to gather the room. You could have then, I think that's what we all do here. We don't all just run in and go, ha, it's like Les Neil, but he's only saying ha anyway. Yeah. But you gather the room before making a point, just to make sure the point you're making is salient. And that's something I've learned whilst being here, how we function together. And that is something that's been put to Arwin privately. And he's choosing not to respond, is what I'm saying. So, whilst I don't agree with the technique, I agree with the sentiment. It was frustrating for me as well. And it's not the first time. And if it's being fed to Nathan, he does need to deal with it. And he did deal with it. It's not been responded to, from what I can see.
I've been the best defense lawyer I can be for Arwin at this stage. In the end of the day, Arwin does things that really annoys me. The whole claim of, the whole statement of someone needs to change is not correct. Someone needs to improve themselves, not to change themselves. Arwin, as fine as he is, yeah.
That's what I was saying, wasn't I? I wasn't.
Nathan. I don't mean it that way.
Just tweaking our behaviour because we've got the goal of putting a show on and respecting each other and trying to refine things. That's what I'm saying. Not change yourself. Nobody wants that. You don't want Arwin preaching like an evangelist. That would just be weird. Yeah. But you do want him to just moderate himself. So, like we all do, so the show runs smooth.
I'll phrase it even better. We want the best of Arwin because he is ace. When things like that make you sigh, I almost went on camera. You know you've got that expression, that what you were trying to describe verbally. I had that slapped all over my Chevy Chase. And I almost put the camera on while he was doing it, rather than interrupting him. But I thought, no, I won't do that to him. It's very disrespectful, because it was written all over my face, just like you described, Adam. But it's because I expect better from Arwin, right? When I compared Owen Benjamin and had that, I know you're smarter than this. I know you can. I know you don't. You don't come across as the type of guy to just parrot stuff. Yeah, when you can easily dissect Coriolis, something that is normally above most people who come here, like most people. Therefore, this seems lazy. I expect better. Well, if I can say that about Owen Benjamin, he's not my mate. Yeah, he might have some advantages to us if we can leverage his intellect and popularity in Flat Earth. That might be of advantage to us, right? But beyond that, I don't care. Who's Owen Benjamin to me? No offense, Owen. You're nobody to me. I don't know you. Right? Arwin he's my mate. I expect better. And if you don't
your
get it,
mate's cursing you out, so I don't know how much of a mate he is. This is the point. He refuses. You tell me something, I'm going to take it on board because I want to be part of the show. So I'm not going to interrupt anymore unless I
just interrupted that last sentence.
Yeah, because you're saying he's your mate and he's cursing you out left and right. That looks good for the show? Come on.
No, that doesn't look good. That's something else people have contacted me about, but I didn't want to necessarily raise things that people have very much intentionally kept private. But there we go, Neil. That's one of those things. We're airing our dirty laundry on a live show currently. It's devolved into this, yes. Should we move back onto Creaky Binder before we divulge any more personal things about our friends?
Yeah. I think when Brian Cox watches this live show, he will obviously feel like we're worthy of responding.
See why I didn't want to do Tyson on the first one? See?
Okay, so that's my fault. Only because I've heard a lot of pushback lately against Howard.
I also blame Brian.
Pardon my voice.
Go ahead, Brian. Sorry, we were talking through each other. My bad.
No, I'm just saying part of that, or a big part of that is my fault because I've heard a lot of pushback against Arwin lately. And Arwin is no different now than he was 4 years ago. Maybe people are losing patience. I don't understand it. But besides that, it's like I don't want to take up the whole show with it.
That's not true, though. He is different. He's broke and he's stressed over it. I know why he's stressed. Because he's broke. He's poor. And when I say to him, yeah, I can look, because I know my stats, I know this is a really crap time of year, right after Christmas. Terrible. Yeah, I'm not going to cover my mortgage. I know I'm going into the reds. It's just the way it is. But I can see into the future to a certain degree with statistics, right? So it doesn't necessarily make me stressed, although in the moment I am like, crap, I'm in a lot of debt. Arwin's the same, but I know he doesn't read terms of service. I know he doesn't study his stats. I know he's got no idea what potentially might happen next month. So he's just in the moment going, oh my God, I'm so poor. And then he e-begs more. That creates a bad impression. And then people start taking the piss out of him. And then he gets into a psychological cycle that is stressful. So you say he's not changed. I know he's under stress at the moment. Now, in past times when I'm not massive amounts of debt, I mean, I've given him like £5 here and there, but I'm like, this is how much I can dip out my overdraft, because I can't just give him like $20. Here's $20, go and get a coffee, or here's $10, go and get a coffee, because I've happened to not be I can't do that at the moment. So all I can offer is whatever kind of support you can say isn't financial, but that doesn't change the fact that we're now swinging the other way, and it's like, I'm sure poor me Arwin isn't what he wants to hear either, right? Yes, we're sympathetic, but there's only so far that will go when it becomes self-deprecating. And there is a point with that with Arwin. The stress will get to the point where he'll do more and more self-deprecating behaviours unless we address it as friends. So you can ignore it. You could just cast him to one side, which seems to be the attitude you were inferring, where you're like, well, Arwin's ace. Nobody's denying that. That isn't what this is. It's quite the opposite. It's just, in a way, expressing concern. And I know a lot of the personal motivation behind that. It's directly relating to how much he's e-begging at the moment, right?
Well, I would say that there's a lot of people that he's annoyed in the past 2 years that would emphasize more on a problem than they would have done 2 years ago. You know, he has made himself a lot of enemies. Now, some of them, I understand, they are deserved because he said the wrong things. He shouldn't have said them. I'm not trying to back him up there. But I'm just saying Arwen is still Arwen as he was 4 years ago. And there's a lot of people that have a problem with him now, and they didn't have that same problem 4 years ago. I find that a bit strange. I find it a bit dishonest. Because if I had a problem with Arwen 4 years ago, I'd be telling about it 4 years ago, if you understand what I mean.
Well, you probably were if you listen back to the shows. Anyway, should we move on?
Move on, because, Brian, I'll talk to you later.
Internet, impossible! So buckle up, because we're diving into another episode of CC's wacky world of not-so-flat Earth.
Is this the guy he's not obsessed with, but he's got a whole video series on him? It sounds like you're pretty obsessed with this guy. Subscribe. That was obviously the guy's back of his head that he's obsessed with.
Sorry, Chris, do you want us to come back when you're less busy, or should we just wait?
Making a cup of coffee.
You think coffee's real?
Is it just me, or are the response standards when you're dealing with a flatty as a anti-flatty pretty crap? The response that he decides to dive in on, an edited video, is responding to him, having a light-hearted, laid-back intro. That's your criticism so far. We're 1 minute and 16 into the video. We've had a whole bunch of fallacies from you, a whole load of baseless assertions that contradict your history narrative. But yet, when we actually get to your criticism of the flat earther, it's look, he's making a brew. Yeah, that was so worthy of commentary.
Nothing against this guy's accent or anything, but this guy's cringe to listen.
Didn't hear the first half of that. Try that once more, Chocolate. You were breaking up at the beginning.
I said, no offense to this guy's accent or anything, but he's like cringe to listen to. Like, does he speak like this all the time?
He's Welsh, so yes.
He just sounds like a clown.
He's Welsh.
Like, and I don't know
That's
exactly. I mean, what he's saying.
Look, I'm Welsh, so I'm allowed to take the mickey out of him. You're not, right? So don't. Only we can do that, Chocolate.
No, wait. White with 2 sugars for me, though, but I don't like milk coffee whitener if you have it. Oh, thank you very much.
Am I going wrong? Is this what I've got to do in these videos? Critique Simon Dan for how boring he is, as opposed to address his arguments directly with the comments that he sends me proactively, like you and your reference frames are ruined, end quote. I mean, that's the standard here. Over on the anti-flat Earth side, you're critiquing this guy for a minute and a half so far, and what we've got is the guys having a cup of tea and how you all have your brew.
I'll get into that in a minute.
Sorry, I thought we had stopped for a lunch break.
This video is more for Google. You see, I know what you're up to, Google. I know you're suppressing us from telling the truth.
But I found this video on YouTube, which
that's an interesting point.
Is a company owned by Google. So if
yes, indeed it is.
They are suppressing you, they're not doing a very good job, are they?
Oh, really? So if I was to type in Flat Earth debate and I was found on page 500, given that I've got over 2,000 shows with that title, you wouldn't say that that's YouTube suppressing me? Given that they've had Congress meetings where they have very directly and publicly been told to suppress us, you're going to deny that fact because you can find him on Google? What? You don't find it difficult to find a man you're obsessed with? What a revelation.
I would like to point out he's confusing the definition of suppression and silenced.
Yeah, stupid.
Yes.
We're not being silenced. Yeah, they're not locking us up, idiot.
Yeah, I've had this on my channel where a commentator came in and said, wow, if you weren't being suppressed, you'd have X amount of followers. And a load of trolls come in and said, if this person, Brian's logic, was being suppressed, how come you can find him? How come we can find him? It's like, it's a complete denial of the fact that the suppression is happening. And this is what this guy is trying to do. Yet this guy would have a link to this other person's channel that's probably sent to him via someone else that just happens to be close enough to that person to get the link. It wouldn't be something you could just straight up find easily.
Right, I'm just going to debunk this straight away. Can one of my mods please go to a channel called Mr. Cheswick and dig out a video that says how to help your YouTube flat Earth searches? Now, I'm going to preface, in case I don't actually get a link to the video, and just tell you to go and have a look at it yourself if we don't get there. But Mr. Cheswick basically said, wow, check out what I get when I search very specifically for shows that I want to do with the subject that I'm very interested in. I cover it. That would be Flat Earth. Here's what I get. And he shows you CNBC, NBC, BBC. He shows you all of the mainstream that comes up first, telling everybody we're idiots, followed by Simon Dan, Professor Dave Explains. Mr. Cheswick's not going to be found for 500 more pages if he's lucky. Now, after putting in a whole bunch of filters to get rid of all of that, he still struggles to find me. Bearing in mind, he's looking for me in his example. Now, he's done a more recent version where, I don't know, I haven't actually watched it, but I know by the title what he's doing in the video. It's an extension of the first one I talked about, where I'm in the chat. So he does a little look for me to make my example. And what do you know? He can't find me. And he's typing in search titles that are so specific to this show. And there's thousands of them. But yeah, this numpty, creaky whatever he's called, thinks that, what, because you can find a man that you're self-declared to be obsessed with, and you've got a video series on, that makes your point, does it? Are these people deranged?
Yes, they are, because that's what they must say and must do to deny that we are being suppressed, that we are being not promoted. That is true. That's what they must say.
All right, so that 23-year-old kid that's behind the computer, watch my video right now.
Just to pause a second. Why is this a point of contention? We've had in front of Congress a statement of what they're going to do, how it will be put down the list. This is not anything debatable. We've got the CEOs stating exactly unfavorable content and then specifically citing us as an example of that, Flat Earth, and what will be happen to it. I don't see why that is in any way a point of contention, like I said.
It isn't. But by that standard, because he, Creaky, very specifically replaces us in those searches, He can say, nah, it's because people like watching me. No, mate. No. It's because you get offered up after CNBC, ABC, BBC. Then you come along. You and Dave. Yeah? That's what people get offered first. Anti-flat Earth. After Congress were told YouTube to suppress us. I mean, like I say, but what you think that makes you popular? It means every single person that is interested in our subject, that's flat Earth, because you're anti-flat Earth, they get directed to you. Lucky old you. That's why this crap where you're covering someone having a cup of tea has probably got thousands of views. I mean, so far it is boring. 21,000 views for your boring video in less than 24 hours, Greeky. Yeah, that's because every search is being directed your way. That's why. Yeah, so when you babble on about how he's boring because he's talking about making a cup of tea in his intro for the first 2 minutes of your video, you can still garner 21,000 views with that. Now, I know, generally speaking, that people want to be thoroughly engaged within the first couple of minutes of a video to continue watching it. This is boring. So you're moaning about him being boring, but you're commenting on him being boring. Now, strictly, you could say, but you're commenting on him being boring, therefore it's boring. No, it isn't. You can tell by my tone that this ain't boring. Because my exasperation is wanting the subject matter, that's flat Earth, and how Earth is measured flat, to be at the forefront of all these videos. But what are you being dished up if you're a member of the public interested in this subject? Well, you. That's what you're being offered. Not me. Not this guy you're obsessed with, whatever his name is.
Now, I'm not a YouTube...
Is that a rhetorical question?
It wasn't a question at all, was it?
Yeah, you said, are these people deranged? Was that rhetorical?
Oh, that question. I'm going to go with that was rhetorical. He seems pretty deranged.
No, that's not rhetorical. Go ahead and put him up on screen and then ask that question again.
Is he deranged?
Yeah, there you go. It looks like somebody took a shotgun and blew out his earlobes. What the hell is going on here?
He has stretched his earlobes and put hoops in them.
Yeah, and you're asking if they're deranged. No, that's perfectly normal.
Traditional Welsh thing, that. Then hang spoons in them.
Expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I have been doing this long enough to know that that isn't the best way to get people to subscribe to your channel, CC. But I'm always...
Far better if you're recommended to everybody looking for flat Earth. Then you'll definitely pick up subscribers.
It's open to trying new things.
Go on.
I put a link into Master B from just CBS from 2018, CBS News from 2018, with Susan Wojcicki, who was the CEO of YouTube at the time, talking about YouTube cracking down on flat Earth and other what she called conspiracy theories.
All of this stuff is kind of irrelevant. Argument ad populum doesn't prove crap.
I'm scanning my way through it. I thought you were carrying talking. Okay, yes, but this basically debunks his entire premise. But there we go. I mean, it is argument ad populum, right? Who cares? We're just talking about who's more popular in subscriber base. That's his argument so far. What are we, 3 minutes into the video? It's going to start playing now when I don't want it to.
You mentioned it earlier with your frustration. I want to get into your argument. They don't, do they? And the last thing they want to get into is an actual real topic on this because they will lose. So what do? Talk about how a man can make a cup of coffee or, you know what I mean? Some random... That's all they can do is to try and add ridicule and, as you say there, ad populum fallacy. So it's about all they've got in it. That's why they're not here.
Perfect. Thank you for these citations, Brian. Shouldn't be reading them while I'm doing a live stream, really. But yeah, perfect. Makes our point. Right, where's this video gone? There it is.
So this is a personal message from me straight to you watching this now, especially if you're 23. You. Have you subscribed yet? Oh, where are you going now? All right, you're back.
So we're well into 2.5 minutes of video. Earth is measured flat. So if you're watching this and wondering, where's the argument? Where's the points? Where's the globe proof? Where's the flat Earth proof? Where's the flat Earth debunking? Where's the globe debunking? Yeah, you haven't had any of that. You've had him criticising the way he makes a cup of tea, asking you to subscribe, and that's pretty much it so far. Earth's measured flat. It's mapped flat, navigated flat, built on flat, referenced flat, flown on flat. Everything about how the Earth functions is flat. There you go. Stick that in your pipe.
Problem is that I have a problem with NASA, and yes, I might sometimes go on to the NASA live feed and troll the channel.
Hang on a second, so are you in Longcore? We've heard it, CC. Now, some of you to tell us that...
Okay, so, I don't know who this flat Earth guy is, but he's got a problem with NASA. Now, I'm very sceptical that it'll launch into how the sky is not a vacuum, but maybe it'll surprise us.
I might sometimes go on to the NASA live feed and troll the channel.
Oh, that was actually in his background. Well, you know, one thing I will give you, Creaky, is that you're not like this guy making a video with the most horrendous of background noise. At least you've got yourself sorted in a place that hasn't got a whole bunch of noise in the background.
Hang on a second, so are you honestly trying to tell us that you think YouTube or Google is trying to suppress your videos and your comment section?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you missed was because you stopped the video just after he said it. Was when the guy said, "I'm just making coffee," he said, "Oh, you believe in coffee?" It was a little attack on flat earthers, as if you don't believe anything is real. You know, this kind of a stupid attitude. It's like, we don't believe coffee is real. Coffee is a conspiracy theory. You know, this kind of a thing. And that's where his whole video started with, was that exact comment. That thing right there.
That's the best way to attack us, right? Because what they got is a belief system. So why not attack unbelief and put that into the minds of his audience, right? Like they've told us already, it's a lack of trust. It's not about arguments, not about evidence. Lack of trust.
Yeah, you don't believe the coffee you're drinking is real chocolate. You only know it is.
Yeah, well, moving into 2024, we don't have that attitude anymore. None of us here believe Earth is flat to have a fair comparison with us believing in coffee, because we believe in flat. We don't. Earth's measured flat, easily demonstrable, and it's our opener. Bearing in mind we're almost 3 minutes into your video. Don't seem to be having much globe proof, just criticism of a man you're obsessed with. It's pretty sad.
Because you troll another channel, namely NASA. Tell me you think you're really important without...
Where'd you get he trolls NASA from? He's not trolling NASA. He said he occasionally tunes into NASA. It sounds like he's a subscriber or a fan. Now, when it comes to NASA, for us, we've turned our backs on them. We know they're liars because they're lying about being in an area that doesn't exist, that you think is called outer space, a sky vacuum. Entropic law debunks the sky vacuum. There is no outer space. Therefore, we, personally, not this guy, have no necessity to go back to NASA's feeds to see if they're fake. We know they're fake. They haven't got cameras in a sky vacuum. They haven't got moon buggies on rocks in the sky. The sky is not a vacuum. Outer space is fake, and all NASA astronauts that have ever existed and said they've been in a sky vacuum are liars. That's the end of that argument.
Out saying you think you're really important.
I have enough trolls myself.
Is that his coffee machine?
But I have to troll that channel because I know it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Take it back.
NASA bullshit, we get it. You dislike NASA. But can you please how big is your coffee cup, Chris? I went along with it at first because I thought I could make some stupid jokes.
So, almost onto a coherent point for about 1/10 of a second there. So he doesn't like NASA. Hey, I mean, it sounds like you've picked the most low-hanging fruit to get obsessed with, but that's just me. I mean, maybe address the fact that you can't have a sky vacuum. It violates the second law of thermodynamics. What's that? How big's your coffee cup? Who cares? Your whole religion is based on the area called the sky being a vacuum, and it can't be. We'd all be dead.
Anybody
about
else
it, but
kind
now
of find it funny? Anybody else kind of find it funny when people want to defend NASA wholeheartedly, when they as well say they treat the Earth as a flat stationary thing? Isn't that cute?
Yeah. In the vein of going forward on the front foot, if we were to bring up NASA going forward, as Chocolate has just done, we'd point out that NASA use a flat Earth. When describing aviation, they're describing travelling across a flat, non-rotating, flat, stationary plane. That's how NASA are going to describe it. Go on, Brian. Tell me I didn't quote it verbatim. Go on.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian. Tell him he didn't memorize it correctly again.
Yeah, it's flat stationary, non-rotating plane.
I don't think that's it either.
No,
by
that's
the way.
not it either. It's a stationary, non-rotating flat Earth.
But how could something be
Flat,
stationary? And
non-rotating.
why do you have to
Excuse
say
me, we were about
non-rotating?
to gloat
Because
at Brian.
it's not.
Do you mind? That wasn't correct
But
either,
it's a valid
Brian.
question. It's a valid question. And I answered this already. The reason they're saying it's stationary, as in it's what they mean is it's not going up or going down. It's not rotating, it's not going up and it's not going down, and it's flat. And it's a flat plane. That's what they mean.
I'm going to go get the citation and post it in Master B again, for God's sake. Chocolate, you got it. You do it.
Sure. But Brian is correct in terms of how they make it absolutely explicitly clear. They say stationary. That is to say not moving up, down, left, right, or forward or backward. Non-rotating. That is to say it's not spinning. And flat Earth. Those are the very specific words that they use. So they're clarifying. In case you say non-rotating, that's because Earth's rising up. No. Stationary, non-rotating, flat Earth is how they describe it.
Yeah, it almost sounds redundant, Neil, but it's not.
Yeah, because I'm thinking stationary means stationary, not moving. I got it, though.
There's two aspects here, transmitting and spinning. So we can move on.
We can move on. But I will stick it up once it comes from Chocolate.
It's getting out of hand.
All the clouds are standing still. That live feed doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Well, why didn't you just start with that? I mean, if it doesn't make sense to a flat earther, then it's obviously fake.
Summon.
All right. Well, if it doesn't make sense to the globe model, it obviously isn't a globe by that rhetoric. When we've put the fact that you can't have gas pressure without a container to compadres of the anti-flat earth fraternity, like yourself, in this case Rumpus, he would tell us that the second law of thermodynamics, that is gas law and how it disperses into space when described in the physical and natural world that we observe, it doesn't apply to Earth, meaning it doesn't apply to a globe Earth in a vacuum because that's simply a model derived from flat Earth measurements that you have reified into existence. I mean, maybe you should have opened with that, addressing the fact that you can't have gas pressure without a container. That would have been a far better opener than talking about how this guy's opener to a video that you're definitely not obsessed with. Why would you be when you've got a series of videos on him? But you can find him really easily, so he's definitely not suppressed. I mean, they're pretty contradictory points that he's made thus far.
But the problem I have is that I can't leave comments on...
I know why he's obsessed with him, because the guy's got very little to actually offer. Whoever this guy is on screen now, he's a flat earther, and the guy's gone, wow, this guy's really low-hanging fruit. He's basically got sod all to say, so I can use him as a poster child of flat earth and say, look, this guy's a flat earther, therefore flat earth is stupid. That's basically this, isn't it? That's all he's doing.
Yeah, character assassination.
Yeah, but he's picked the right character. In this instance, it's selective, isn't it? He's picked his target and gone, if I'm going to character assassinate flat earth by stereotyping fallacy, I need to pick a numpty. And if I can find a numpty that has horrible audio, terrible background noise, talks in boring terms about things that he doesn't qualify, I've been watching a lot of NASA feeds. I don't like NASA. I troll them. That's the rhetoric of this video thus far, other than him making a cup of coffee. Well, that's low-hanging fruit, isn't it? Check out, this is what flat earth... he represents flat earthers, does he? This guy here? Is he representative of a flat earther? Well, according to this guy's stereotype, yes.
Well, when the guy said the clouds are stationary, this guy Creaky didn't disagree with that. Whereas in reality, clouds are anything but stationary. They may not be appearing to move very fast depending on the weather, but it doesn't matter. The clouds themselves are constantly in flux. So they're not stationary. They're the opposite from stationary. They're constantly moving. Do you know what I mean? So this is what we're dealing with. It's like the statement, the clouds are stationary, is completely wrong from the outset. But your man's Creaky wants to just agree with that so he has something to attack this guy on. Whether he knows that's correct or not, he's not interested in what's correct or thinking logically. He's interested in trying to character assassinate some guy who has probably absolutely no idea who he is. This Creaky guy, like, he doesn't know who he is.
My videos to people.
Well, there's a couple of potential fixes, Christopher. First of all, have you checked that your keyboard's plugged in? Because, you know, flat earther. And secondly, you haven't accidentally changed your channel category to suitable for children. Because if you have...
So
why do flat earthers unplug their keyboard?
Just straight up stereotyping ad hominem.
Then you can't comment. But I find it really peculiar that you think Google is out to get you. Now, they could stop you uploading all...
But I don't mind sticking it up every time on screen to make you look like a complete bonehead. That's no worries. Every time you say, what, Google are censoring you? Yeah, it went to the highest echelons and they were told to. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. I don't
And
really
there was a whole list of links I could have got.
One more time?
Link after link after link I could have got that would support that claim. I just picked the first two.
Before you carry, found the NASA quote here.
Yeah, I'm just putting it up. I've got it. So I can't read it. It's too blurry. Can someone read it?
This report derives and defines a set of linearized system matrices for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth.
We were both wrong. Everybody was wrong. Flat, non-rotating Earth. So it doesn't say stationary.
Stationary atmosphere. So the atmosphere is the same reference frame as the Earth. Well, that's the point he's making. There's not two. Yeah, in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth.
Hey, Simon Dan, what do you know? You were right. Reference frames ruined. No Coriolis. No proof of Earth turn. Earth stationary. Non-rotating. Flat. Yeah, we already know.
Yeah, but there was other citations from NASA that stated slightly different, and there were citations from Lockheed Martin and from Boeing and Grumman. What's the one Grumman? There's all the aerospace companies. There were citations from all of them, and they all say the same thing. The main basis of it is flat and stationary. That's the basis of all their citations.
Done that, they've just removed your ability to comment on your own videos. Okay.
That I would like to speak to. I could just give them hearts and checks. That's all I can do. When I try to press the comment button, all of a sudden things get obscured. It goes into cat lock, and I'm typing, and there's nothing happening.
And finally, the coffee machine has shut up. Now, we hope we haven't got to listen to you slurping 3 liters of coffee for the rest of the video.
You see how long it took me to make that cup of coffee?
Well, we couldn't...
My God. Does this have any substance in it?
Miss it, could we?
Oh. Glad this is late in the show.
Coffee's got a lot to answer for.
Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about, during this period of time, I like milk in my coffee with sugar.
Oh, this is so painful.
Nathan, this is terrible. This is a heap of nothing, and it'll never amount to anything. This is the best that our opposition have got.
This is what they get, but this
That's
will
the first
generate.
time we've done this, guy.
Just for the audience benefit, this generated 21,000 views in the last 24 hours because there's an absolute shed ton of people searching for flat Earth, and they'll be presented with stuff like this. So that's how it garners all of the views. But what is it? In essence, it's total garbage. It is boring. This is a boring video from you and him. Like I say, this inadvertently means that we're now making a boring video.
I'll send you a series of videos from the guy we covered yesterday, covering different topics. If you want to switch a video, one of them would do a lot better than this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should.
It's such a stark contrast. Yesterday we were dealing with a lawyer called Deception Detective, and he's covering the Madeleine McCann case and showing how mid-level deceivers will utilize certain mid-level fallacies when they're being challenged. They'll try and shut down their opponents with ad hominem fallacies, poisoning the well fallacies, things of that nature. So that's a sort of, in his estimation, mid-level deception. Now, when discussing mid-level deception according to Deception Detective, when analysing the behaviour of a couple of characters who have had their controversy of a missing daughter in the press for the last 15 years, I, personally, would consider that fairly highbrow as a discussion topic for us to be having here on Flat Earth Debate. Compare and contrast to this utter tripe.
How long it took you to figure out that the Earth is flat?
Probably nowhere near as long as it's taking you to make a cup of bloody coffee.
This reminds me of Simon Dan's very first video, which basically went viral, where he analysed a flat earther opening and closing a gate. Now, the video itself from Dan and the video he was criticising from his flat earth stereotype, contrasted with this guy right now, was boring, but it went viral. It was boring, it had no content, no substance. Both of the characters involved are dull as dishwater, but it went viral. And here we are, exactly the same utter tripe, getting tens of thousands of views within the first day.
Took you a while, didn't it?
Hold on. Question is, why isn't he reviewing 1 hour videos?
He doesn't want
How about that?
Because this tripe will still get him 20,000 views. Why put effort in? He can criticise a flat earther for making a brew too long in his video and get 21,000 views, Neil. Does he need intellect? Does he need substance? Does he need good arguments? No. He needs to go, look, flat earthers are stupid. That's his shtick. That's what he has got. Look, a stupid flat earther.
You call this before the low-hanging fruit?
Yep.
I would contest that and say for these guys, this is the high bar.
Yeah.
This is the high bar of truth for these guys. This is where they need to go. Because again, it's not about evidence and arguments. It's about trust.
Why would this
guy
to speculate?
To look like a complete moron, nobody will trust him.
Why would this get brought to the top of the list? Why would this be at the top of the list? I'll tell you why. Because if you're having a cursory glance at Flat Earth and you come across this, what does this represent if this is the subject of Flat Earth? A great big fat nothing burger with a guy talking about something very boring and being criticised by a guy who's also very boring. Does this encourage you to research the nature of Earth further? No, not at all. Perfect. Give him this first. So this guy's managed to corner the market in making it all very dull and boring, and that's precisely the impression that YouTube want to give off about this subject. So he's going to be top of the list. In his deluded mind, he thinks it's because he's good at what he does. And this guy, who is equally boring and basically his parallel in the flat earth, yeah? Just as boring, just as dull, just has slightly worse sound, yeah? He, to him, is, oh, I'm just censored because I'm not boring, because YouTube are censoring me. But that's also true. We can easily demonstrate that as fact. But it doesn't change the fact that both boring characters should get equally comparable views for how crap they both are. but one's going to get 20,000 views. This guy's going to get 5, isn't he?
Yeah, because it's a situation where you either trust the heliocentric paradigm or you get character assassinated. That's about the size of it. They are the two choices you're given. You either trust and join the side that this creaky guy is on, or someone like him will do their best to character assassinate you, even if you're just a nobody on YouTube. Because in the flat out arena, if you thought, like, who is this guy he's critiquing? I don't know the guy. I don't even recognize his voice. Doesn't mean he's a nobody in reality. It just means that, you know, he's nobody, you know, on YouTube. Yet they feel the need to character assassinate him. What has he done to garner this attention? This flat earther? What has he actually done?
Produce crappy YouTube videos.
He said it's not a globe.
Yeah,
That's what he's done.
So he's not even picking a really heavyweight flat earther because he can't.
No, because he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to, and that's not what's required of him, or what is. The beast does what the beast is successful at. So if he is successful producing this, he will continue to do that which he has garnered success with. Is he going to say, I need to offer something of substance? No. What's made him popular is making Flat Earth look boring. So that's what he will continue to do. He's not going to go, well, it's like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm going to jeopardize everything that I stand for by going in front of a flat earth that potentially could rip me a new asshole. Rather than having that be lingering out in the open without saying it, I'll say it. Oh, well, they'll just be more charismatic. Done. Jobs are good and moving on. He'll never want to ever be in front of us again. He just captivates his audience with his ball nonsense measured off a flat plane that he doesn't disclaim. This guy, he's going to do the same. Why would he want to get entangled with us? He knows we're going to rip him a new one. I know that feeling too. I've been around a hell of a lot longer than this guy, right? I remember being green in this subject. Like, this guy is, we know he's green at heliocentrism. He's not covering advanced heliocentrism. He doesn't understand advanced heliocentrism, let alone the flat earth counterparts argument. He knows how to criticise someone's brew-making abilities. That's this guy's intellect. Well done, Creaky. You're good at criticising the abilities of making a brew on camera. But that garnished him a lot of views. So is he going to change? No, he doesn't need to. No, why would he? But in his mind, it's because that's good and smart and people know it about him. That's what he's justified. And the other guy, just as boring, who I'm obsessed with, isn't getting the views because he's wrong. Very nice black and white terms to present up on YouTube when you search Flat Earth to the numpty cursory glance that somebody's come along to find. This is what they get. Perfect. He's going to continue doing this till the day he dies if it keeps making him money.
It sure did.
Chris, we're both a bit too long in the tooth to be playing peekaboo.
However, during this period of time, you think you can sit down with somebody over a cup of coffee and teach them that the earth is flat.
There isn't.
Yeah, I can. I would sit them down and say that's exactly how it's measured, built on, navigated, charted, flown upon. That's how it is. What's that? You say it's a globe? Well, give me your example, and I'll tell you how your example utilised a flat earth to make it. That's what I'd do over a cup of coffee, and I absolutely assure you I'd win.
Enough coffee in the world to be able to convince anybody that the earth is flat, so you may need to
show them some measurements of it flat, and then they wouldn't have any doubt in their mind that it was measured flat, because it is flat. You can't measure something flat unless it is. And that's precisely how Earth is measured. So while in your mind simply saying with a hand wave dismissal, nobody's going to believe Earth's flat, yeah, that's going to satisfy the YouTube algorithm nicely. That's what it'll achieve. And if that's all you want out of life, then fair enough. With my YouTube hat on, I envy you. But when I take that hat off, that is definitely not a high standard now, is it? You've got to be stupid to believe this flat Earth. Well, maybe if you looked into how it was measured to claim it's a globe, you'd realise that your globe needs a flat Earth to be measured.
set your sights a little bit lower.
Quick question. I know there's not enough in the world, but how much coffee would it take to prove a flat Earth?
Yeah, that's how he's quantified it, right? So you're saying there's a chance if we ply you with coffee for the next 10 days. It's like, what kind of... Is that your gauge? How much coffee?
It's impossible. Can't do it.
Well, you haven't got to. It was just a suggestion.
Not over a cup of coffee. Not at all. No. In fact, the only way you're going to be able to figure out that the Earth is flat is to do your research. No one's going to...
No, it's measured that way. So you could take the old 2023 and prior rhetoric of you need to have an open mind. You need to do your research. Nah, you just need to know it's measured flat. Because it is. That's how it's measured. Pretty simple. You need to take that attitude, my friend, whoever you are. Chris, is it? Did he say his name was Chris? Yes, Nathan, his name's Chris.
I think he did.
Okay.
You're faster than this. Don't think you are. No, you are.
Yeah. but that is a fact. It is measured flat. So when it comes to convincing people, you just need to tell them that. Now, I know that many of us in this arena haven't been exposed to this new amazing way of thinking. What's that you say? I should just tell them it's measured flat? Because it is. Yeah, it's a major revelation, I know. But yeah, that's exactly how it's measured. So just tell them.
Tell you.
You are joking, right?
No, I'm not joking. Earth is measured flat. Every globe assertion that you can ever infer for your reification that you're standing on a sphere flying through a violation of the second law of thermodynamics in the form of a sphere Earth requires Earth to be measured flat. And it is.
I mean, if there was nobody telling anybody that the Earth was flat, then...
It would still be flat. It wouldn't make any difference who's telling anybody anything. That's how it's measured by us, so we can see that it's flat and prove to numpties like you that it's flat, because that's exactly how it's measured.
Why am I here making a video about a guy in New York making a cup of coffee?
It's a very good question. Given that Earth's measured flat, you'd think you'd be going about taking that flat Earth measurement and inferring that your reification of a sphere is true. That's typically what's happened in the past, but you're not even doing that because this has made you successful. Basically saying absolutely nothing and smiling and just calling your opponent stupid.
And this is just one of the many reasons why I dislike being asked what I do for a living.
You gotta go down there.
You do this for a living. You gleam all the flat Earth views for money. In fact, you don't even need to do that. You wait for this guy to make an actual video, then you critique his video to make your money from his work.
Big one.
All right, no need to show off. And Chris, come here. You and I both know that when you get to our age, it's not as big as it used to be, especially in the cold.
Big screen, big deal.
What the hell? So, let me get it straight. You're now talking about your penis with a guy you opened with as describing as not being obsessed with, and what you're critiquing about a guy you say you're not obsessed with is him making a brew while you compare that to penises. This is slightly disturbing now, I've got to be honest. Whoever presented this divergent droid, sharply take a breath.
As a flat earther, as long as I've been doing this. I had no idea. I used to look as mountains, as plate tectonics.
That's me. Yo, what?
Yeah, this is more of an ASMR, because most of what the flat earther guy has come out with it sounds slurping or some brewing or something. This is more of an ASMR video, isn't it? That he's critiquing. Because they haven't heard anything.
So, no, I mean, I can think of nothing worse. All I do is obsess about little electronic devices making little whirring fan noises and try and eliminate them from my recording. So, for me, listening to his extractor fan, the guy in the background gardening, his coffee machine, the echo, and then somewhere in amidst that, there's a vague point that has no value. To me, this is hell. I gotta be honest, it's audio hell.
I know it is. I know from your position, listening to all this absolute rubbish is hell. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only redeeming feature, is that 50% of the video's got creaky in it and he hasn't got horrendous audio.
But now I know they're trees.
They're what now?
But now I know they're trees.
Yeah, I thought that's what you said. Okay, why are they trees?
Did I miss a...
No trees.
Did I miss a segue?
No trees.
It was because I was so focused on the coffee noise and the background audio and the echo. Where did we go from I hate NASA, I'm a troll, to they are... What are trees? What's he talking about?
There are no trees on flat Earth. He's talking now. Mountains are trees, he said, basically.
Oh.
We're now going to get to something that Creaky will probably be prepared to discuss, because it's an easy point of attack, isn't it?
Like I said, not the low-hanging fruit. This is the high bar for clowns like this.
So when I say we feel that we get a bad rap, this is the reason why. If he's about to launch into there are no forests on a flat Earth, oh God,
he already has.
Well, the sky isn't blue because of the sun being projected onto the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Oh God, save us all.
It is. Sunlight is made up of different colours, and when it hits the atmosphere, the
Atmo, what now? Both are claiming that there's an atmosphere. Atmo means air. Gases. Sphere, that's a shape. You can't have sphere-shaped gases. Gases are, number one, unbonded. Yeah, they're individual particles that are not actually in connection with any others to form a shape. And what shape, if you were to ascribe one, would you describe them as? Well, it's completely dependent on the containment that they are within. So they take the shape of the container. That's entirely dependent on the container's shape, though, because gases don't have any inherent shape. So to say light hits a sphere-shaped air, because what? You've got the light from the sun traversing a vacuum and then hitting uncontained gas in a sphere shape. Wow, this is really crude. No, definitely not. It's an oxymoron to say atmosphere. But there we go. You've got a nice low-hanging fruit flat earther that said it for you, right?
shorter blue wavelengths are scattered in all directions by the gases and particles in the air.
You don't know that. You've based that on a heliocentric rhetoric with a 93 million mile sun, as I just described. As soon as you take away your distances to your sun, as soon as you take away your orbital motions, you have no sky vacuum, you have no excuse for why the sky is blue, and you certainly have any distances and orbits for a sun in a massive distance to describe scattering.
And this scattering causes the sky to look blue to us when...
Wow, you're a really good parrot. Well done for actually reasonably accurately parroting your heliocentric rhetoric in this regard. Unfortunately, your orbital motion that gives you a description of a sun 93 million miles away is a derivation of a flat Earth measurement to give you a system to put in orbit. So you've got a derivation of a flat Earth measurement. Well, that doesn't prove wrong.
Oh, dear.
Go on. Was that oh, dear?
Yeah, it's oh, dear. So just because he thinks... Hold on.
Scattering. Thanks, Neil. Neil Cosentino.
Get pulled over, sorry.
And we look up at it.
It's blue because it's sky ice.
Oh, God. I hate doing these sorts of videos because I basically object to everything both parties say. And one of them's supposed to be a flat earther. Oh.
Hi, Ice. What's in that coffee?
Sometimes some of these people are not flat earthers. They just pretend to be and make videos as if they are. But sometimes they actually are. Sorry.
Sometimes they're just new agers that also think the Earth's flat. And wouldn't, if you ask them, describe themselves as a flat earther, that's just an obvious truth that is inconsequential in their worldview, frankly.
Yeah, they're more
There's a lot
Sometimes people are just retards and they want to have their voice heard. Sometimes that happens. On this occasion, we got two retards.
Sometimes some poor old bloke who's just having a ramble doesn't give a shit about any views or anything, production standards, because he just likes doing 5-10 minute videos, having a ramble while he's having a cup of coffee in the morning, gets picked up and held up as the voice of flat earth for anti-flat earthers to ridicule.
Perfect. With that,
And everyone remember that?
remember
Flat, non-rotating.
Well, look at what we got here.
What do you mean? Can
This
everyone
report
remember
derived
that?
and defines a set of linearized systems, matrices, and rigid aircraft with constant flying mass in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth.
Where's that one at?
On screen.
Oh, I'm not looking at the screen.
Cool.
So
you're both
when I
right.
looked, there's a lot of
Everybody was
them.
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. All of them.
Choose what sounds easier, though.
Well, no, this one points out we've only got one reference frame. There's not two reference frames. It goes to that point within it's because they're all doing this one's about deriving matrices. Look, so it depends what they're doing as to what they're stating, but they're pointing out specifically here when they work out to make sure these planes are safe. They realise that we've only got one frame. There's no
They just added stationary atmosphere. The stationary paradox, the actual real one's the flat, non-rotating Earth.
over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, over a flat, non-rotating Earth is still good. So no, this doesn't work either.
Quite pretty that.
No,
That's useful. That's useful to Simon Dan, that one.
it could be. No, flat, non-rotating Earth. So everyone got that now. Okay, we can move on.
What are you talking about? Who forgot?
Shout out to Robert Pisano who first demonstrated this. I think I seen this in 2016, like the second day I was out here. We good?
They were things that would turn up in your search engine, weren't they, back in the day?
Awesome. Can you regale us with the whole story?
Well, no, you've already summarised beautifully.
Did you have breakfast yet?
Yeah, I just got done eating.
Reminds me of a joke. How many flat earthers does it take to change a light bulb?
Sorry.
How many flat earthers does it take to change a light bulb?
6,000,001.
4. 1 to change the bulb and 3 to sit around saying how great the old one was.
That was stupid.
It was so stupid, you gotta laugh.
I thought my answer was going to be better. I was going to say 6,000,001. 1 to hold the light bulb and 6 billion to rotate the Earth.
That actually is good. But Richard said there's 8 billion people.
Just to clear it up, we actually showed on this show the statement from NASA that said flat, stationary, non-rotating plane. And I think it was 10th Man that shared it because I have it from on my computer from 10th Man.
Oh, that's old nonsense. We're going back.
We did. Yeah. We did because we specified why they said we thought about it. Why are they saying stationary? We actually got into that topic. And it's not just from NASA. It's from Boeing and Lockheed and other people. So no, we won't just parrot that one. I will continue
we will.
saying what I'm saying.
Yes, we will.
You can do what you want. I'll continue saying what I'm saying.
That's right, Brian.
And we're damn proud of you.
Measured
I've
flat.
got a new one. Stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Horses for courses, gentlemen.
Nah, I don't like that one at all. It's got the oxymoron atmosphere in there.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. From my aggressive witness. Hostile.
Who proffered that video? I mean, Droid, you screwed up, man. That's all right. Just take one for the team on that one. Now we're going to have to review your reviews.
It's what you make of it. And I think what we made of it was actually quite good. Just to point out, look at the numbers that crap is getting.
Did it not remind you of that gate video?
People.
Did it not remind you of Simon Dan's very first video, right out of the gate? Excuse the pun. He had a gate video. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
Like that? Boring.
Simon Dan, though, was a lot more entertaining than that guy. In fairness to him, he is watchable. Simon Dan is watchable. I can watch Simon Dan for entertainment. I don't get triggered. I don't get anything. I just enjoy him. Do you know what I mean? He's watchable. He's a likable character. But that guy, I can't watch him at all. Every time any of his videos turn up on my YouTube feed, I make a point of saying not interested in YouTube.
Whose coat is this jacket? So I need to make a thumbnail with Cox on it then, don't I?
Was he even involved in the show?
Again?
Was Brian Cox even involved in the show?
Yes. He came on as a guest.
He was our personal guest. That's why Arwen left. Someone was more intelligent than him.
Can't be true. Not possible.
Why do you got to make a Brian Cox thumbnail? What is Brian Cox doing now?
Johnny come latelys, eh?
Yeah.
Hours and hours and hours of work, prep work, just up in smoke.
Did a whole presentation to Brian Cox, proactively telling him, Earth's measured flat, what are you doing?
Why all of a sudden Brian Cox? Is he doing something special or something?
Picked up random. I was like, we need to pick a heliocentric priest because currently, if I'm going to... I'd be hypocritical if I continue to say, right, let's make reactive videos. I'm not saying we're going to stop, but I'm just saying to keep that sentiment going, rather than making a reactive video to a Cox piece that he's made and put out, and we're saying, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that in response, I'm saying get a picture of Brian Cox, stick it up on screen, and we'll just proactively tell him what's what, and then encourage the audience to just go and tweet at him.
All right, fair enough. Sounds like a good technique.
Why not? Why be reactive when I can proactively get people to let Cox know that we're telling him Earth's measured flat, mate, for your examples that you've given your audiences, or space is fake, mate. Whatever. We'll refine it more as we do it more.
So attack.
Proactively, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Me too.
I think it was Witzit's idea originally.
I think it was Brian's.
Well, before, obviously, it was Brian's originally 2 weeks before that.
Well, if you listen to tape, it was Brian, what's his name? Your guy there, Robert Pisano.
Should I call it FED addresses? FED addresses Brian Cox. FED addresses Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Robert Pisano.
Dear Brian.
Robert Pisano.
What?
That guy, your guy, Brian Robert Pisano. That's what he said.
All right, Brian, I got it mixed up. I'm eating, and I'm trying to think, and I'm pissed off at Arwen at the same time.
Why would you be pissed off at Arwen?
I don't like the way he took to his channel, saying the things he said. It's disgusting.
What did he say? How would you know what he said? Weren't you here with us the whole time?
Well, I went in there to try and encourage him to come back in, and I just heard him curse you out, telling you to suck his... I'm not even going to get into it. I just shut it off.
Elbow.
We're not live now.
Elbow.
Not live, but we are recording.
Yeah, you might use judgment later. Title, Arwen live now. Really? 500 bucks or I'm out.
Oh, man.
It's just...
God. Really?
Yeah. See, it's not in a good place. People will have a go at whatever's gone off this afternoon, but we're his mates. And
You're making excuses for him already, Adam. That's ridiculous.
No, I don't need to make excuses for him when I say he's my mate. That's sufficient qualification for concern.
Right, so just address him and no excuses. Get your butt in here and let's get this thing hashed out. What's going on?
Yeah, like I said.
Help him in any way?
There was two people that side because they understood when you see a title like that, what's going off with him. Okay?
No, you have to break it down for me. I'm too dumb. I don't understand.
Well, you side as well. 500 bucks or I'm out. It's not just interacting here. He's in a very bad place, isn't he? You watch stuff. Financially, mentally, I think.
I didn't say mentally, but yeah.
Is that live at the moment, Adam? Or is that something, that's the name of his show from earlier?
No, that's a new one.
Thanks, Adam.
Sorry, I was on mute. It's now. Sorry. He's like now.
Thanks. So he's looking for that much money off the audience, right? He's just going to quit.
I don't know. I've just seen the title, mate.
They have discouraged him from being so overt in his methodology of e-begging. And he's gone completely the opposite direction, presumably out of spite.
He thinks you're correcting him because all you want is the money. That's all you're concerned about is money.
Yeah, but I am in the same way he is. I'm stressed about money at the moment. Only because I haven't got enough of it, but that's the same as him, right? What do you mean? I mean, what you're saying is, you're saying it's like a scrattling along the ground trying to pick up pennies, and if I can get to the pennies first, is that what you're saying?
I think that's why he thinks you're correcting him, because you're worried about losing people and losing money.
Yeah, him losing money and losing people, losing support. That's how I've approached it with him. And he's gone, I'm fine. I've got plenty of Patreons, or that, whatever he said to me.
Well, you might want to go listen to that.
No, I'm good.
One thing I will say about Owen is he'll never tell you a lie. As in, he might try and not concede that he's wrong. I'm not talking about that. That if you've argued with him a bit over a topic, he might try to not concede he's wrong. But he'll never tell you a lie. He's totally honest.
It's not
even
deceitful.
when he abuses you.
Yeah, it's not deceitful. Owen's not deceitful.
No. And that's, you know what I mean? I like that, because so many people in the world come across as charming and all the rest of it. But they were little liars. At least Darwin, even if he curses you out of it and abuses you, he's not lying.
What do you think?
He'll tell you exactly. You know where you stand. You know what I mean?
I don't know. You say a lot of things in the heat of the moment, but if you're a mate, I'm never going to say that. I don't care. You just can't. And that's what he's got to get through to his head. It's either we're just you two people to him, or we're mates. What are we?
Yeah, that's a fair point, though, as well, Neil. That is a fair point. You can't just curse people out of it. That can't continue, you know. I agree with that.
Well, because there's people watching, and you're representing Flat Earth Debate. Even though you got mad, you stormed off. Now they hear you cursing out Nathan, telling Nathan to whatever. It's just not a good look, man. It's just not. I get mad at Nathan. I got mad at Nathan. He instead of yelling it on when he started turning it to me. But I had to take a look inside. If people are not liking what I'm doing, then I gotta shut up.
Na 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 na.
And I thought everybody loved me.
They do, yeah, but the problem is that it's not about you. It's about, a lot of the time, it's about those people.
It's about me.
A lot of people like to complain.
It's not about you. It's me.
Sorry, I completely hijacked that point there, Brian. It's about the message, actually. It's about people coming here and realizing Earth's flat rather than going on a horrible rocky road of learning how heliocentrism doesn't work for 10 years. Because it ends up at this place where we've suddenly got to have a bit of introspection and assess whether we've become monsters on that path. I don't want to set anybody off on that path. It's a horrible path. Let's pay the new path. That's my motivation. I hope that's been made absolutely clear. Do I want to make a living? Bloody hell, yeah, right, I do. But that goes without saying.
If you won't make it, if you're dealing with all this nonsense, either, from Alwyn and anyone else, including me, if I'm doing a similar thing, you won't make it at that point because you're dealing with nonsense, interpersonal nonsense, as opposed to the topic. Correct what he says. People need to learn about that fallacious logic because it's true. People are using fallacious logic all over the place. He makes a fair point there.
Yeah, that creaky video is
all roads lead to flat Earth debate.
Sorry, go on, whoever that was.
All roads lead to the flat Earth debate.
I wish they did. No, they all lead to Creaky and
all
Dave.
roads lead away. They don't need to. They're leading them away.
I mean, there's even like popular quote unquote YouTube fucking creators now talking about flat Earth. So
no swearing.
Yeah, it'd be better if they're talking about flat Earth
not
debate.
being led here.
Nathan.
It'd be better if they were talking about us and what we do. That's not just because of selfish motivations, because it's flat Earth debate, my show, my living. But what we have to offer is a cut above everyone else. So as much as Bev and Elderbear tried to mock us a couple of days ago, and Dell for that matter, these guys think they're on the cutting edge. They say that they're at the forefront of the... Yeah, we are. Without question. That means that I should be promoting the fact that, yeah, when someone says roads are leading to a flat Earth, people are talking about flat Earth. They should be talking about a flat Earth debate because we have the best arguments. So it's not... It is arrogant. Is that the right word, Adam?
No.
Confidence.
Arrogance is different. Is a different thing. Confidence. You have confidence in what you say. Arrogance is like saying it, and your arrogance carries it, as opposed to any substance.
All that sounds like personality, though. We don't need any of that. We got basic facts. The Earth is actually measured flat.
I got most of that. You're very quiet, but yeah, it's just lean on the facts. Don't need an attitude. You don't need charisma. The facts stand alone.
How much of this show in the past, just take the past 4 weeks, has been taken up with interpersonal stuff, the derailment of the argument and the derailment of the case? I mean, how much the derailment of the investigation, how much of it has been taken up by that? Would you say 70% of it? So there's maybe 30% of the show is going out, whereas any real substance or content that matters. Sorry, being.
You are right, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing, and I'll tell you why. We could have just carried on, right? Do all of the housekeeping questions every day, and then do a little response video to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Just carry on, basically doing what we were doing. Nothing wrong with that. It would have been fine, right? But as soon as you open up a couple of eggs to make an omelette, you make a bit of a mess as you go about. And suddenly, you said it on the live show, right? Well, there's been this behaviour from Arwin for years. Why is now different? Because we want to make a difference now. That's why. So suddenly things that may have just, like I said, boiled below the surface level, people actually pop their head above the water and go, I don't like that. I haven't liked it for years, isn't what they're saying, but it might be the case, Brian, for all you know. And it's just us saying, right, well, we're going to have a change of heart in terms of how we go forward, moving into 2024. All right, well, if that's the case, then this that I've objected to the entire time cannot stand.
I understand that Arwen is disruptive at times, but I find that Arwen is not as bad as people on the show. I'm not talking about outside of this show, but on the FED show, he's not as bad as people make him out to be. He can be disruptive. He can argue a bit. He can come in over the top sometimes when it's not necessary. But I find that a lot of people are suddenly having an issue with Arwen in recent months and just want rid of him. And it's like, well, Arwen is the same Arwen as he was 4 years ago. So what is it that Arwen has been saying that you're all unhappy about? You know, okay, he said a few controversial things. That's on him. I'm not trying to defend that. But he always says something controversial because he just speaks it out. I just find it a bit dishonest that so many people want rid of Arwen now when he hasn't changed from 4 years ago. Maybe it's because he hasn't changed. You know, maybe that's it. But I just find that a bit dishonest myself.
Well, I can tell you this much. They seem to think it's trolls, because that's what some of the people in this chat were saying. Why is Nathan listening to trolls?
Not trolls.
It's not just trolls.
It's not trolls. People assume that. It's like, no, I do get the comments from trolls as well. Don't get me wrong. But you can easily read between the lines of people who are being trolly because they can't help themselves. There's no love. I have to keep using that word in how it's being presented when trolls present it. None. There's no concern. There's no greater good trying to be achieved. Nothing when it's the trolls doing it. I can easily ignore those. But they still exist also. But if everyone just assumes, oh, it's just trolls. No, it's a much bigger picture. The trolls have poked and poked and poked and poked and poked and poked and poked. And at a lull, you know, perhaps they're starting to get the better of Arwen. Now, you can't disagree with me when he's stormed off and is now slagging us off. I can see that as a cry for help. That's what it is. But people will turn around and go, well, look, the trolls have successfully driven a wedge between Arwen and FED. No. If we didn't care about Arwen and he wasn't our friend, this wouldn't have been a good chunk of the show discussing it, would it? Because we wouldn't care. We'd just get on with it. We'd have just carried on doing Creaky and no one would have mentioned it. Oh, Arwen's gone. Oh, well.
Well, it is a cry because, you know, when somebody leaves, they go, I'm leaving. I mean, he said it. I'm leaving.
But you don't have to read between the lines. He's asking for money. And I said it all along. I said he's in financial dire straits. He's really struggling. So, shock horror, when he goes off to have a strop, he's like, give me $500. Like, yeah, told you. I have to stop myself from doing the same thing. Please give me money. I'm really poor. You know, it's so tempting. But it just doesn't go over. It's really crass. Nobody wants that. What you want to do is give someone that warm, fuzzy feeling where they go, yeah, I know Earth's flat. I want to support this guy, and I'm going to. Because I want to, you know, it's all positive. Whereas if you're like, I'm poor, if you don't give me money, I'll disappear. People don't like that. I know, well, I've worked in sales. It's just, oh.
Well, John, on a side note, not to try and somewhat salvage the show, the videos I sent you that were covered by the man from yesterday, Deception Detective, two of them are UFO videos and one of them is a Bigfoot video. One of them is about a guy called Bob Lazar who claimed to have studied a crashed UFO that crashed in Roswell, one of these places. And Deception Detective pulls him apart as being a liar. From what I can garner. So, if you want to put on one of those, just because there'll be a bit of substance.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. Definitely.
Are you saying there's no aliens in Roswell? What?
Well, what I'm saying is that we could talk about interpersonal stuff for the rest of the show. It's like, you shouldn't allow that kind of stuff to take up too much of your show.
You were the one you pushed that forward for the majority. You go back and listen. I can't believe my ears.
Yeah, you kind of did, Brian.
Well,
the amount of failed segues I tried to get back onto Creaky of all crap to get away from this. You kept pushing it, Brian. It was you.
Well, it wasn't me that was allowing it to become a thing.
I don't understand why people are saying things. Owen's been the same way. 5 minutes later.
5 minutes later. He's been the same for 4 years. Another 10 minutes. 5 years. It's been like this.
Sorry. I've been so hypocrite. Sorry, I apologize.
Who brought it back up in the after show?
Brian.
I did. I was just going to say, I brought it up in the after show.
Oh, was it Neil? Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, it was me.
It's all done out of love. It's all done out of love for Arwen, though, isn't it? Let's be sincere, right? Arwen's a good friend of all of us, isn't he? We all like him. So, you know, we do feel pity when he is financially hard up, and we will discuss it and how it's going to affect him because we can see the bigger picture, as opposed to just call him Oliver Wynn, prick, the guy in the chat. So people, it's not just everything about the negative. People often contact me about positive stuff that they'd like to see on the show, one of which was, it'd be nice if you did, and it was compared to Russian Vids, a bit like Russian Vids does, and just interact with the chat a little bit more, because you don't really do that. You shout out your super chats, but that's about all you do. Can you just interact with the chat a little bit more? Yes, no problem. My response, yes, I'll do exactly that. So then the first thing I do to go to the chat, say hello to people, and I get literally the second comment after Divergent Droid was someone moaning about Arwen's e-begging. Second comment. Now, when someone says, well, that's just a troll. Yeah, I'll agree with you in that instance. Again, easy to spot when it is just a troll. And that was a perfect case in point. But it doesn't change the fact that what are they picking on? Is financial hardship. They know where to poke, don't they? Pricks, all of them.
Yeah, that's true. They do. They want to poke you in the place that hurts the most, to cause the most rage. That's what they do. And sometimes they win at that. I'm not going to lie. But if you can make it so they lose more often than they win, then at least you're beating them that way. But they are pathetic.
Oh, the sad thing is Nathan's hurting for money when the content that's being produced from the show, you should be rolling in money. You should be secure. You should be set. You should be going forward, figuring out how to count your money. But instead, not getting no love.
You're a Christian, right, Neil? The Lord works in mysterious ways. So, in many ways, being, I've always described the two hats I wear. Well, there is a financial motivation for me to do better, to pay more attention to, I'll keep exampling them, the Christian viewers who have, out of love, said how they feel that the show could be improved so it could be shared more, for example. Well, those things have driven me to assess what we're doing and from what being told, improve upon things. Yeah? Well, that's good. Well, would it maybe not necessarily be the case if I was just doing all right and we just carried on doing housekeeping every day? Might be that being in a bit of a financial spot, as I've already said, I can see the ebbs and flows in my stats. So this will turn around. People are just poor after Christmas. But nevertheless, it doesn't change where I'm at right this second. And that not all year round being financially secure has driven me at this particular point in the year to do better. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm great at putting positive spin on stuff. Just bear that in mind when I give you that as an example. I can positively spin most things, otherwise I'd be very depressed. But you know what I'm getting at, Neil? I'm saying, for you as a Christian, the Lord works in mysterious ways, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I just, I think that what you're doing now is gonna grow the audience. I just think that, the audience is always there whenever you're ready to reach it. You're gonna have to always go through your the what do you call it, like YouTube as the middleman or whatever. In this case, it's YouTube. It's like, well, yeah, there's still a huge audience out there, and every time someone like a normie does speak about this topic, those are the most active lives, and that's when the most super chat happens. So I just think that there are things that can be done to get Nathan to the point that we all believe that he should be at. You know, it just takes a little more time, a little bit more focused manpower. That's it.
And Darwin and everybody else who's financially looking to benefit from flat Earth. Well, everybody criticizes people who go out and look for money for the truth. It's like anybody who's making money on YouTube is doing that unless they're overtly going out of their way to lie. And our opponents, in other words, we are far more virtuous in this endeavor than our opponents, who are literally going out of their way to lie, and we point that out whilst being accused of being liars. You know, that's just how the world works. But to achieve a financial success out of that at the end of it as a YouTuber does not seem unreasonable for me, Arwin, or anybody else who wants to cover this subject. But yeah, it is still one of the things to this day that gets criticised. You shouldn't be, by our own side, I might add, you shouldn't be out here promoting this subject when we've all been deceived and trying to make money out of it. Why not? I saw it as a perfect opportunity with an evergreen subject. I thought it was the absolute perfect subject to make money with.
Yeah, no problem with that at all. I guess you got the right idea with the clips. You just got to pump out maybe more clips, and I don't know. Because I just think that any one of the shows from the past can go viral because they're so good. If they're clipped up right, if they're presented right, and if they're presented over and over and over again, that's how eventually it's going to pick up because the content is so good. It's going to pick up.
Yeah, I would agree. Since 2024, I would say that, you know, in the last couple of weeks, all of the shows are worthy of being shared far and wide. Whereas, don't get me wrong, there's been times in the past, in the last year especially, when I've had my focus on the computer mainly, that I've looked back on the shows and I've gone, I don't really want to rewatch that. Not because I think it's bad, but just because I'm not like, I really want to see that bit again that happened in that show. We've gone through the motions. And then there's been the odd show here and there that I have gone back and gone, wow, there's some really good points made in isolation in that show, in that week. Whereas literally every single show, as you just said, over the last couple of weeks, since 2024, I've gone, yeah, these are all really good. And I'm running out of steam I'm trimming so much out of these shows. You can see by the uptake of edited videos. Number one, it shows I'm not faffing with my computer quite so much, although it still gets faffed with, I won't lie. But I've got more time to do those edited videos, and I've got the material to pull from. You know, in many instances, it's because people are bracing against us wanting to take one front foot forward. So therefore, we get all of the detractors suddenly pile in, and that's produced material.
I think Eli's talking about even older shows, right, Eli?
I don't know. The last year has not been the best year for us, Neil. I'll be honest.
Yeah, either one. Like we could have I mean, there's so many ways that you can produce your show outside of this show. This is the live show, but like for instance, I watched this guy called Parker the Slayer. He has a completely separate live show that I'm never there for, but I watch all of his clips and all of his 12-minute videos as opposed to his 3-hour-long lives. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's just a completely different audience, and just think you could have a show where it's like, you know, to back to the well, not Back to the Future, but like something about 2020, because we know that there was a big change then and there was a lot of controversy then. Maybe sometime around 2018, like, you know, these are things that people weren't around for, where the information will be warped for them if we let other people tell the story when all of the content is right there. Why let them rewrite history?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, it is what it is. We produce what we produce, and we can only hope that people pick up on it and want to share it around. But more so than ever, we're focused on the subject at hand. Today, not so much. We talked about some internal issues, but as I said, if you want to make an omelette, you're going to have to make a few broken eggs in the process, and that's what's happening today. But that's necessary, I feel. We're having a little bit of a clear out, aren't we?
Well, I like QE Live because Flatsy and Betty are on there, so you have more of the female input. So it balances it out a bit more, and I'm sure that is. I find it as just a show. It doesn't have to have any particular topic. Just as a show, it's entertaining. Now QE is very entertaining. Don't get me wrong, and Adam obviously is entertaining. But having Betty and Flatsy there, it does help matters. It does have that balancing of the genders thing there. And we've always been missing that on FED. Because I know we have had females on FED, but they've only come for a while and they've gone. Even if they're in the background now, they don't stay consistent on the show. There was a girl, I remember there was a girl some years ago, and she was joining every day. I think her name was Carolina or something like that. And she was joining every day for a good 6-8 months. And I think just the learning, she couldn't keep up with the learning of all the topics, and she just kind of trailed off. But it's important, I think, to have that. I think, I'm not saying it's going to attract more female viewers, but it will attract male viewers when there's a female voice as well. It will. And I find that with QB Live is more balanced in that way.
It is more balanced, but it certainly isn't balanced. I mean, who'd have thunk that the show with a female influence would be Quantum Eraser's show? You know, you don't get much more crass and
yeah.
But his is the show with a bit of female influence in it. Makes no sense. Alphas attract females, I suppose.
So for me, the game is create as many opportunities for yourself as possible. So if you have different aspects for people to latch on, and one aspect of the show goes viral, it's just going to grow your audience in general. That's going to, rope people into the subject. I told Q a long time ago, wouldn't it be cool if you had a segment where, people called in to let you speak to like their family members or something? Obviously they know about it and they're calling you specifically because, there's somebody not like an anti-flat earther, but somebody that's like, what's really going on? I don't really know anything. What's the cutting edge argument? You call Nathan, you call QE, you have it, you make it a conversation, you make it an opportunity to go viral.
We'd have to build a better, softer
Calling
reputation.
shows are very successful.
We'd have to build a softer reputation. So if you're going to put your loved one on the phone with random YouTuber that they don't know because you're arguing about Earth not being flat with them, you want to know that they're not going to get, it's not going to end up with your wife, son, whatever, getting verbally abused by me or Quantum Eraser. So that means that specifically he and I, have to build up a bit of a better reputation for tolerance with numpties, because that's...
I see what you're saying, and at the same time, because there's a passage in the Bible that says something about if you wait for the perfect weather, you'll never have any harvest or something like that. And it's like, that's true. But then again, you have a whole panel who's been involved in this subject. Each of us know 2 or 3 people where we're like, you know what? They already know what I do. They've already heard me talk about this show. Why not have them come on the show to create some content? I'm sure they'll agree. Obviously, you speak to them. You tell them exactly what I just said. And if they go, all right, yeah, I'll do that, that'd be a win.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me just point out something that happens on QE Live. Flatsy, when there's a super chat, Flatsy has the go-ahead to just come in and say that and say super chat. Whenever it is, she has the go-ahead to say that, regardless of what conversation is happening. Now, she'll pick her moments, but she can come in and just say it. When Betty speaks, super chat. Yeah, when Betty speaks, now Betty is more, because she spent more time with QE, she'll just speak whenever she feels like speaking. But even at that, QE makes a point of making sure that Betty and Flatsy and any other female that comes in there gets, when they start to speak, everyone is told to be quiet and listen. And that's the thing about like there was so many years of FED, of such arguments going on here between ourselves and with the ballers, that any female that come in here to try to speak, they weren't getting the chance to be heard, because as they were trying to speak, every fella was talking over the top of them at some other fella, as opposed to no Paul is speaking, no Flatsy speaking, or Betty speaking, or, you know what I mean, whoever. The point is that you must, the allowances there on QE Live, QE makes a point of making sure the allowances there for this lady
Nathan was a floppy ship. I agree.
Yeah. No, I don't think it would have worked on FED some years ago, but it would work better now. But it wouldn't have worked some years ago. But that is the thing, and making sure. And it's like I've noticed with Flatsy, maybe I'm wrong, that she seems to have just says super chat. You know what I mean? Regardless of what's going on, super chat. You know, with a bit more confidence. And now she just says it without giving it a second thought, as opposed to when Kiwi first kind of handed her that job, she was a bit more shaky about it. Now she just says super chat. You know what I mean? And that's what's going on. And she gained confidence from this. I think.
Could you imagine?
And everybody stopped.
Could you imagine, like Nathan doesn't even like know the leverage he has. Like, could you imagine? Like, let me not make it weird. Yo, you could literally inbox, people who you either know in the community, or we could, tell you about people in the community. One person that is a solid female who's debated this topic for a long time is Bambi. I think people would love to hear her on this show.
And Stacy.
Stacy's good.
She'll ban QE again, no Bambi. I remember one time she put QE on timeout.
Yeah, so what? QE sometimes does QE things.
I like her already. Perfect. Right, with that, I am going to say, though, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!